All right. Yes. Yes. Oh, God. I've been waiting all week for this. I had some issues with StreamYard that I was not expecting. So it looks like I am live. It looks like I'm ready to go. StreamYard so far has been pretty damn good. But I do have some issues so far. So welcome to Dan Show. Today I'm going to break down the AFC West and plus answer any and all questions that you have. I'm very excited. I got to do my Jacksonville Jaguars and New York Jets video. I got some feedback from both of them. I engaged UCF Jaguars channel, who's come on here a few times just to talk. I haven't had him on as a guest yet, but so I asked one of their fans, I said, you know, what's your expectations for Jacksonville? He goes, one of the guys, at least 9 wins. I was like, man, over under 6. So how much you betting? Well, I'm not really betting anything, but, you know, so obviously it means that, you know, hey, I'm not really expecting to win 9 games, but I'm hoping that's okay. Monday, I will do the Houston Texans. Then the Atlanta Falcons, and then the Cincinnati Bengals will be Friday. But today is the AFC West. Very, very excited. Very, very happy. I finally get to do my hometown, my division, the one that I am a big fan of. But I'm going to do my best to be as impartial and as unbiased as I possibly can. And Funk, he's there. Welcome, Funk. I'm jacked up, man. I am jacked up. I am 81% sure I am not on cocaine. 81%, but this is like I'm almost done with my energy drink. And I got coffee. Any and all questions, I'm ready to answer. I'm just jacked up. I've been looking so much to just talking football. I'm very excited because after the 4th of July, as far as I'm concerned, it's football season. It's now. We're on. We're ready to go. I plan on watching a lot of preseason football. I'm very, very, very jacked up. Oh, wow. I am having – all right. Doesn't matter. There's some goofy stuff going on with my computer and StreamYard right before I came on the air. So very, very weird stuff. Very, very weird stuff. All right. There we go here. Boo, KC sucks. They're a bunch of overrated bums of the coach that can't call plays. Damn, Funk! Funk came in strong. And One Pride 40 is a giant Chiefs fan, in case you didn't know. One Pride 40, big-time Chiefs fan. So I like this. My boy Funk, man. It seems like we're on the same page almost completely, except for this minor snafu. As you can see here, the Kansas City Chiefs are heavy favorites to win the AFC West. You have to wager $320 to win $100. I will admit, I was really floored that there is this much a discrepancy between the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Broncos. I mean, I am really shocked because I don't think there's really a big difference between these 3 teams. I really don't. But, I mean, 3-1, and the Raiders are the only team that's been really capable of beating Kansas City. They're really the only team that beat Kansas City. Don't give me that Chargers win week 17. Because here's the deal. That Chargers win, if you go back and you watch that game, I played 12 snaps for the Chiefs in that game. If you look really close, I played 12 snaps. I played left tackle. So that game doesn't count. None of the starters played for that game. So you have to throw that one in the trash. The Raiders came to Arrowhead and won. They're the only team to do that. Excuse me. And so I'm really surprised that people are really this low on the Raiders. I personally have Denver as the number 2 team. I'm in a kind of a minority because a lot of people are very, very high on the Chargers. I don't see it. But I have to admit that Denver here is I'm not surprised at this, but these two numbers I am very surprised at. Very, very surprised at. Funk, it is more than okay, man. It is more than okay, man. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad we're here to talk football. I might have to put 100 on the Raiders to pay out his night. Yeah, the payout's great. I think plus 1,800 is fair because I'll talk a lot more about the Raiders when I do the Raiders, but there's a lot of things actually to really like about the Raiders. The one thing I think that they had a swing and a miss on, and I'll talk about it right now, is that they had a terrible draft, not because they didn't get good players, because the problem with their team is in that interior defensive line, and they don't have a pass rush. Now, they did sign the Conway, but I'm not sure that's really enough because you're running that new Tampa 2 defense. I thought that there was a lot more that you could have done. But instead, the Raiders went ahead and drafted 11 safeties in the draft. Kansas City and Denver, I gave B-plus grades to in the draft. With Kansas City, part of the draft grade is getting a Pro Bowl left tackle, so I included that in there. But the two players they got in the second round, both players could have gone in the first round, so I thought that was a real big plus. And the Chargers, I gave a B- to. I think they had a pretty solid draft overall. Nothing that's really a big surprise there. And then one Pride 40. Both lines could have used a little love during the draft. If you're talking about your Raiders, absolutely. Now, Leatherwood is going to be a day one starter. I think the plan is to have him step in because they went ahead and traded I'm drawing a blank on his name, the guy from New England. They ended up giving him like $68 million over 4 years to play right tackle, which I thought was a major mistake. Then he really didn't fit the Trent. I think it's Trent Brown. And they ended up trading him back to New England. Like they got I think it was a 6, and then they get a 7th back or something like that. And so they drafted Leatherwood, a first-round draft pick, to go ahead and replace him. But they also did lose some. They lost their center to Arizona. Really good pickup by the Cardinals, by the way. In Rodney Hudson, who's been in the league for a while. But the defensive line not making upgrades when they brought a bunch of people in. So they brought in, I'm drawing a blank on his name, second blank, and I haven't been on I haven't even been on 8 minutes yet. But they brought in a defensive coordinator who was with the Chargers. They're bringing him into the Raiders. They worked together. Him and Gruden worked together in Tampa Bay to win a Super Bowl. And so when you bring up that Super Bowl team in Tampa Bay, that Gruden coach, it was basically built on that great defensive line. So I assumed that they were going to go into free agency in the draft, and they did take the Conway, but I really thought they would use defensive tackles and maybe an extra defensive end to try to build it up. No, they drafted 11 safeties. So one Pride 40. Chargers are a sleeper team for me, not for me. And I'll tell you why. You have a rookie quarterback that was coached by a conservative former offensive coordinator in Anthony Lynn. Well, he's with Detroit. So now you bring in a first-year head coach who's a former defensive coordinator. I don't like that. And then you also have some changes in the offensive line. That's another big red flag, is that you're going to do some shuffling in the offensive line when you have a young quarterback. Then on top of that, you also have a new system that he has to learn. Plus, you're using a brand new system on the defensive side of the ball. Now, even though he did have successes his inaugural year as defensive coordinator, you also had Aaron Donald. They don't have an Aaron Donald there with the Chargers. So I do worry about it. Now, I will say this, the Chargers have talent. Specifically, Keenan Allen. If you haven't been paying attention, Keenan Allen is a monster. Is an absolute monster. And the Chargers have a lot of talent. I just think that this is going to be a year it's going to really disappoint a lot of people, just like you, because I think you bring in a first-year head coach on the defensive side of the ball when you have some problems on the offensive side, especially when you have a young quarterback. Now, if Justin Herbert doesn't skip a beat and continues to grow and progress, then the Chargers are going to be dangerous. But I think you're going to see him take a step back. This is a good question because Tim's talking about this. And what is up, Do you think Kansas City should get rid of Clark with the pending legal action, save a bunch of cap space, get out of the huge contract? I like Clark, but may become a huge distraction. I heard Clark is looking at 3 years or something. Okay. A couple of years ago, what happened is Frank Clark was pulled over in California. He had an Uzi in the back. Apparently, he just purchased the Uzi. It was laying out in the open. The police officer, during a routine traffic stop, saw the Uzi, and he was arrested. Now, I don't know all the details, but I'm going to be very clear. I don't, to the best of my knowledge, oh God, how do I approach this? Here's the drill. You take an under 30 black man in a Lamborghini in California, pulled over for a routine traffic stop. There is a very good chance that you may be able to prove that he was pulled over for, I'm just going to say it, driving while black, DWB. I mean, it's a common term. There's no such thing as driving while white. I'm pretty sure that there's never been cops going, hey, there's a honky in a Toyota Corolla, let's get him. But there is an issue with black men who are under 30 in Lambos getting pulled over just because. Here's a drill. If you can prove that the traffic stop was unwarranted, there's going to be no action. Is there a good chance that could happen? Absolutely. The way laws are, gun laws in California, it's not illegal to purchase an Uzi in California. It is illegal, though, to purchase an Uzi without having what's called an FFL. That's a federal firearms license. For example, I've purchased multiple guns here in Kansas. Kansas has great gun laws, by the way. So I have to go to a place with an FFL. So the way this works is that I go to a licensed dealer. The person I'm purchasing a gun from ships it to the closest place is Bass Pro, which is about 2 miles up the road. So I have to go to an FFL place. I pick up the gun. They do a background check. Now, if Frank Clark purchased that Uzi from an FFL, it is no problem. Now, early on, it looks like he purchased the weapon illegally. Now, he got arrested immediately. He's out now. Now, California has some really, really strict gun laws. So what it is that this is a fine, okay? Even if he purchased it from somebody without an FFL, it's just a fine. This is, believe it or not, this is not a violation of the personal conduct policy by the NFL. It is still legal to buy guns even in California. So what Tim is saying is, hey, with this legal action, should the Chiefs get rid of Clark? The answer is no, because they can't. This is not a violation of the personal conduct policy, despite of what most people think. Most people think that Frank Clark getting arrested with an Uzi in his Lambo is because he went to jail. Is that this a violation? It's not. The Chiefs do not. Now, this could cite some sort of minor clause or whatever, but the truth is, he's still under contract. He's on contract for a lot of money. 2 years ago, when they traded for Frank Clark, I thought they gave up too much draft capital, and I thought they gave him too much money. Now, I'm going to go over some of these comments. I'm going to kind of touch base with this. If everything goes wrong the way it is, then yes. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to, because he's worth $100 million and he has access to NFL lawyers, I think what's going to happen is this is going to get fined. I think this is going to drop down to a fine where he's going to be able to prove that, hey, look, I'm a black guy driving in California with a Lamborghini. The cop had no reason to pull me over. Here's a $50,000 fine, and boom. So, yeah, it's going to end up being a non-issue. Keenan Allen, you are 100% correct, Funk. It's kind of weird that we're kind of agreeing. I'll even say something here, and I know that there's going to be some Chiefs fans who are going to watch this. I actually think he's better than Tyreek Hill. Now, I think Tyreek Hill is better with Mahomes because of the arm talent, but if you had to, we're just picking guys, off the fence, like, in the playground, I would take Keenan Allen over Tyreek Hill. I really would. He's a damn good player. A lot of people have no idea how good Keenan Allen is. Well, I don't like Lombardi. No, I'm not. I really don't know. I really don't know that everything's going to really fit. I think it's going to be a situation where a lot of people that think the Chargers are going to keep going up. No, you're starting from the very bottom, and you got a young quarterback. Then on top of that, you have some holes in that offensive line. So yeah. Now, believe it or not, it is actually not illegal in the state of California to purchase a gun, but there's strict laws. Like, for example, I carry a Glock 19. Okay. In California, I can only have 10-round magazine. Lucky for me, I own a 10-round magazine, but I'll never go to California. But anyway, I carry a 19X, so 19-round magazine now. But here's the deal. You could still purchase a weapon. It has to be done legally, and there's magazine restrictions and all this other stuff. However, what I think is going to happen is that he's going to be able to prove that he was pulled. Now, here's the deal. When he was pulled over, it was routine traffic stop. That means he was pulled over routinely. Well, is it routine for somebody to be an under 30 black man in a Lamborghini? No, it's not. And the way that there are racial relations in the United States today, I think he'll be able to prove that, hey, look, I was pulled over unjustly. And then everything gets thrown out. No fine, no games missed, nothing. You are correct, Tim. California and New York are the two worst states that have a gun law. No, in Missouri, it's non-issue. Same with Kansas. Now, here's the drill. You can still purchase a weapon. That is actually legal to purchase a weapon in California. You had to purchase it from a federal firearms license. There's magazine restrictions. I don't know if the gun was loaded. I don't know if he had the right type of magazine. If it was just the gun and it was unloaded and he purchased it from an FFL, everything's fine. However, if that was the case, he shouldn't have had it. Now, believe it or not, I've never driven a Lamborghini, so I don't know why he didn't put it in the trunk, but maybe it doesn't have one. I don't know. But yeah, it does not violate the code of conduct. A lot of people think it does. There's a lot of Chiefs fans like, oh, he should be cut. No, this is not a violation of the personal conduct policy. California does have the strictest gun laws. However, it is not illegal to purchase a firearm in the state of California. Now, there are restrictions onto it. By the way, when people say Uzi, it's not like it is in some of the movies where it's a fully automatic. You pull the trigger and just 100 bullets fly out in a second. It's not like that. It's a semi-automatic weapon, which is still legal to purchase in the state of California. There's actually I used to get emails from LAX Ammo, and they used to sell guns and ammo. I discontinued emails. They didn't really have good deals. They said it was good deals. It's not. So you can still purchase a lot of things, guns and ammo in the state of California, but there are a lot of restrictions that aren't available in other states. So one priority to answer is yes, but you are 100% correct. However, it is still not illegal to purchase a firearm in the state of California. No, it is not. California is, yes, you are 100% correct. Denver Gator, what is up? So what's up with Kansas trying to sabotage my boy Locke, putting lug nuts in the highway? By the way, it was not me, and it might have been Tim. If you haven't heard this story, Drew Locke was heading on I-70 through Kansas, and a lug nut came in and like he got stuck in the windshield, so Highway Patrol came and assisted him. It was not me. So yeah. By the way, me and Drew Locke went to the same high school. I think Denver made a very, very smart move in not giving Locke a chance. So it was not. Oh, nice. That's a good gun, Funk. That's a good one. Thanks for the stop. Think the stop was for the lighting issue on the vehicle. Chicken shit. LOL. Yes, and that's kind of the reason why I think everything's going to really work out. I think it'll be some bullshit fine. And I'm a big fan of law enforcement, so I'm not saying the officer just pulled him over, but we live in a time where you can say that if you're a black guy, you got pulled over, you can make a strong argument that you're pulled over unjustly. And I mean, there's not a, I mean, even in California, Lamborghini still stands out. So, bottom line, it's really going to be a non-issue when everything's said and done, Tim. It's not a violation of the personal conduct policy. He's not going to miss games. Now, again, this is the way I understand it. Now, if he purchased a weapon illegally, that's a whole new different set of circumstances. It's actually still not a violation of the personal conduct policy, but he could miss some games, being that he broke a law. That's kind of a touchy situation. The way I understand it, the weapon shouldn't have been out the way it was, pulled over. He didn't have everything that he needed to have when, purchased weapon. And I've purchased several guns before, and I've never just had one laying in the back seat. So that was kind of dumb on his part. So I got you, man. I don't know how people can live in California. I'm actually, it's funny. I'm thinking about moving out to Vegas, but I might drive to California one of these days. But more than likely, I won't. California is not even a place I want to visit. So I'm with you, One Pride, man. It's not one of my favorite places. And I'm not going to lie. If I ever do go to California, I will be carrying. I'm just going to make sure I have the 10-round magazine. One in the hole, too. One in the hole. One in the hole. Yeah, I'm going to have one in the hole. All right. Over under numbers, Kansas City is, it actually was at 12. It's jumped up to 12.5. People are still high on Kansas City. It's plus 100, which is even money. So if you want to take Kansas City over 12.5 wins, a $100 wager will win you 100. If you want to take under 12.5, it's negative 120, which means you have to wager $120 to win 100. I had a feeling when it came out at 12, it would jump up to 12.5. I think it's a fair number. I'm going to go over the rest of the numbers so I can get my evaluation. Denver, people are really starting to listen to me. One thing, again, that I'm surprised, if you went back and saw that Denver and Chargers are the same, this number is different. The Chargers are at 9, Denver's at 8.5. Where you see you have the standard negative 110, people are betting on the over for Denver. So, what you're seeing here is that the general public is high on the Chargers, a lot like One Pride 40, but Denver, I think, will get there. I think when everything's said and done, Denver will end up at 9, but right now 8.5. And then as you see, right now, people are really high on under on the Raiders, just like it says here. I was really surprised about it, but 7.5 is actually not a bad number to bet on. I think the over is actually pretty solid, believe it or not, plus 115. People are really high on the under. One Pride 40, so you're not high? No, I am not. No, I am not. I thought that they should have gave Anthony Lynn another chance. I thought that was a bad move. Then you go ahead and they lost, I think, 2 starters on the offensive line, and then you're starting off with a new offense with a second-year quarterback, and then you're switching defenses. And you're also losing Melvin Ingram, who in that 3-4 defense, I think would be a really, really good piece. Now there's talk that maybe he'd sign back, but I don't think he's coming back. And then you're taking Joey Bosa. Now I think Bosa's a pure 4-3 outside linebacker, but his first year with the Chargers, he played defensive end, a 5 technique in a standard 3-4, and he had 12 sacks in 12 games. Bosa is a beast. And then they also get Derwin James back, but Derwin James has been gone the last 2 years. There's no guarantee he's going to come back and be the same type of player. So no, I'm not high on the Chargers at all. I actually have the Chargers finishing last in this division. I think when everything's said and done, I think it's going to be Kansas City. I think it's going to be Denver. I think it's going to be the Raiders. And I think Denver and the Raiders are really going to compete for playoff positions. Maybe 1 or 2 gets those spots. And I think Chargers finished dead last. I think the Chargers made a mistake not staying with Anthony Lynn. I think that they'll actually take a step back. Now, I know at one point they were 2-10, but they won the last 4 games of the season, and I think that should have been enough to save Anthony Lynn's job. I think out of all the teams in the NFL, I think the one that's got the worst front office and ownership's definitely the Chargers by a landslide. Stadium's going to be big. They got a really good quarterback, but I'm just telling you right now, I know I'm not high on the Chargers. right now, today, I think Chargers finish last. Chiefs coach needs to eat more salad. He's always been a big guy, man. I just polished off my energy drink, so I'm not on cocaine. And Machiavelli Raider, welcome to the show, brother. Yes, Raiders will be second in the West. I think that there'll be if you didn't catch this part, there's a big favorite to finish dead last. I don't see that at all. I think they'll compete with Denver for the second. But there's a lot of things I like about the Raiders. Now, it's unfortunate because Derek Carr is in the same division with Mahomes, so he doesn't really get the credit he deserves. But Derek Carr's been playing some really good football in the Gruden, and he's been getting better and better. And they added some position. They added those rookie wide receivers. Ruggs and Brian Edwards. I was really, really high on. Darren Waller is playing fantastic football. And then you also have some they added the running back from the Cardinals, they're thinking about switching him to wide receiver. He'll take over that role from Nelson Aguilar, but he may get a little creative. The defense is going to be the key because that defense is not good. But I'm glad to get some Raider fans in here. So yeah, I think Denver and the Raiders are going to fight. I would have Denver as 2, the Raiders as 3, but I think both those teams are going to go anywhere between 8 and 11 wins, somewhere around there. So I think that's a good move for Denver and the Raiders. It's going to the Raiders. I have questions about the defense. Denver, what's really going to hurt them is Pat Shurmur. But yes, I need more Raiders fans here, so I'm glad you're in the chat, brother. Woodride 40, calling him Cap. Broncos have a QB problem when they finish third or last. I went to the same high school as Drew Lock, so I'm a Drew Lock fan. I think that you have the weapons with Drew Lock. I think this is the year that he'll step out. Remember, he didn't have an offseason last year to really develop that offense, and they brought in Pat Shurmur, who was fired from the Giants. So now giving him a full offseason, I think he'll have an opportunity to shine. I think Drew Lock's going to be a good quarterback, and I think Denver was really smart in not drafting a quarterback. So, yeah, I do think that I disagree with you there, though. But from what I've seen so far, I get what you're saying. But I think he's really going to take off and have a good year. No, Andy Reid can eat all the cheeseburgers he wants because he is winning. So you think firing Lynn was 100%? Look, I mean, he wanted to go Tyrod Taylor. And then what happened is the doctor punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung. So they had to readapt their offense and scale it down because they weren't expecting Justin Herbert to play at all. So they scaled down the offense. They changed some things around. Their best defensive player, Derwin James, tears his ACL in training camp. So here you are. You lose your quarterback week 2 thanks to a punctured lung because of an inept doctor. Your best defensive player is out. And you end up winning 6 games. With a rookie quarterback and your best defensive player out, yes, they made a mistake. The front office and the ownership of the Chargers has famously been famous for being bad. Or a lot of people don't think they're as bad as Al Davis was the last years there, but the truth is he has been. Yes, this was a big mistake. I think that if Anthony Lynn and they kept the coaching staff intact, I would have the Chargers as my number 2 team in the AFC West. But you have a rookie head coach who was a former defensive coordinator who's got to work on the offensive side of the ball, and you got rid of some of your starters on that offensive line. I know the AFC West is not known for defenses, but still, you got some big names. Von Miller's coming back. You got you got Ngannou, we'll have to see how well he fits in, and you still got big name in Frank Clark, who is going to be able to play. Geez, past 3 years, he's gotten better. That's the unique part. Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of people are overlooking, mainly because you're in the same division. And by the way, Machiavelli Raiders talking about excuse me. He's in the same division with Patrick Mahomes. Is he on the Mahomes level? No, he's not. But the last 3 years under Gruden, he's gotten better and better and better. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he threw for over 4,000 yards, and I think it was like 70.2% completion percentage. As a matter of fact, some people are saying Carr could have a career. Yes, Carr's actually a dark horse for MVP. I'm telling you that right now. Yes, he's a dark horse for MVP. And I think a lot of that's going to have to do with the bad defense. So he's going to put up big numbers this year. I think it's 70.2 and over 4,000 yards. And normally that's a really, really, really good year. But you're in a division with Mahomes, so it's kind of like yawn. So, yeah. So it's great for Detroit. I think so. I think it's great for Detroit because you get a guy who – yeah, I know he was like the interim head coach for Miami for 11 games or what have you, but you get an inexperienced head coach. I always think that when you have an inexperienced head coach, bringing in somebody with head coaching experience is a brilliant move. So I think bringing Anthony Lynn, and let's just say, for example, let's just say things don't work out. Let's just think, oh God, I always forgot his name, Dan Campbell. I'm so sorry, man. Let's say Campbell doesn't work out. Anthony Lynn can step in and replace him. So, yeah, it is great for Detroit. It was a really great hire to bring in a former head coach as your offensive coordinator. And the best part is Anthony Lynn wants to run an old school style offense. Dan Campbell looks like he wants to run an old school style offense. So I think they mesh really, really good together. So, yeah, it's a great move for Detroit. You should like Carr. You should like Carr. Would you compare Goff to Breeze? Breeze is I've always said that Breeze is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. And I don't think that Breeze will ever really get the credit he deserves because I think Breeze should be in the quarterback conversation, the greatest of all time. Does Goff have a lot of similarities? He kind of has some similarities. He's a natural passer, very highly accurate, not really overly athletic, and he doesn't have the big arm. Those are comparisons, but sort of, kind of. Breeze, when you talk greatest quarterbacks of all time, Breeze should be in that conversation, and I think he's maybe the most underrated quarterback of all time. Goff will never be in that conversation, but there's some similarities there. So sort of. Dan has a picture of Drew Lock next to us. I'm not that big of a fan. Machiavelli, I hope Carr has a career year as Raiders are my AFC. Now, by the way, Machiavelli Raider Funk is a big Chiefs fan. I'm just letting you know that right now. He's a Lions fan and he's a Chiefs fan, but he is helping you out by saying that go Raiders. He's only being nice to you, but in reality, he's a big Chiefs fan. Oh, God. Oh, got the trash talk here compared to the last night. He's better than Tua throwing 5 picks in OTAs. The king of KC sports to this day is still George Brett. I think Mahomes takes that title one day, even if he gets a few more Super Bowls. I think he takes the title someday. Do you agree? Yes, I do. And the reason why is that one thing about history is that you quickly forget about who his history has a way of fading away, out of sight, out of mind. A lot of people already consider Mahomes the greatest Kansas City Chief of all time. They're ignoring the fact that Len Dawson led them to an AFL championship, a Super Bowl win, and the 2 Super Bowls. He also was, a sports broadcaster on the news. Now all of a sudden you talk about Len Dawson. It's like, who? And this was Mr. Kansas City for, 30 or 40 years. And, it's funny you say the king of KC sports. Well, the king of KC sports was actually Len Dawson. And then George Brett came along and won a World Series. And, of course, most famously known for the Pine Tar incident. So he took over from Len Dawson. If you would say who's the king of KC sports, I would say Len Dawson, because Len Dawson, the AFL was in Houston Texans, but Len Dawson, HBO Sports, it was Len Dawson, Nick Bonacotti, who was on national TV every day for years. Then they brought in Collinsworth, and then shows kind of went downhill. Not a jab at Collinsworth, but I mean, it's true. It was just better when it's Lynn Dawson, Bonacotti. And then Lynn Dawson was also on Channel 9 Sports and also did the radio. So I actually would have said Lynn Dawson, but you went with Brett. Bottom line, does Mahomes get that title? Yes, absolutely. Mahomes is doing things that very, very few people are doing, and the ones that have done it are on the Pro Football Hall of Fame. If Mahomes never gets to another Super Bowl, but he plays 10 years in the National Football League, he will be the king of Kansas City. And I think, his fame's just going to escalate. I think it's hard for me to say because I'm a Chiefs fan, but he is the best quarterback in the National Football League, and I think the most exciting player currently. So, yeah, answer your question, yes. Even by the way, sorry for the rant. I'm not on drugs. Mike, you should hear the love for golf around Detroit. Shaking my head. A lot of people say he's better than Stafford. I've given up on people. I actually think Goff could be the answer for Detroit at the quarterback position, but I wouldn't say he's in Stafford's class. I'm going to touch base on this here real fast here. Throwing 5 picks in OTA is not a big thing. Patrick Mahomes is first season as a starter. He's thrown a lot of picks in OTAs. He ended up throwing for 5,050 touchdowns and winning MVP. So that's not a big deal. OTAs, mini camps, things like that aren't a big deal. I would not pay attention to anything. I would just wait and see how he does during the season. But I would, I think if you're a Lions fan, I think the ideal thing is that Goff plays up to Pro Bowl status as a quarterback, then you don't have to draft one. But if he doesn't, then you got a ton of draft picks you have to waste on a quarterback. And I say waste because if you have your quarterback in play, just imagine if you let's say Goff pans out. All right. You have a good offensive line. Now you can worry about the defense and get some skill position talent with all those first-round picks you have over the next couple of years. Detroit's front office coaching staff is very unique. It has experience in young and upcoming young bucks. Yes. Dan, you said it in the comments section. Yeah, I did. And you mentioned that he's comparison to Alex Smith. And I said I wouldn't compare him to Alex Smith because Alex Smith was actually a really good athlete. I remember at the combine he ran like a 4.6 something. I think Goff ran like a 5 something. Alex Smith is actually excuse me. Alex Smith is actually a better athlete than Patrick Mahomes. And a lot of people don't realize that, but Alex Smith was one of the faster quarterbacks in the league. Now, his last year in Washington, yeah, that's comparison to Goff. That's an excellent comparison. But for a lot of years, he had a lot of athleticism that really kind of went very underrated. Goff's not an athlete at all. That's why I would say I would compare him more to Brees because Brees is not a runner. Brees didn't have a big arm. Brees is more accurate and a natural passer. The one thing I love about Goff is a natural passer, but that's kind of where the similarities end. Brees is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. Goff is not. Now, could he be with Detroit? Sure. Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. But I was referring to, you said you would compare Goff to Alex Smith. That's a good comparison if you're talking about the Alex Smith in Washington. The Alex Smith in Kansas City was a much better athlete than Goff. And I would compare Goff to more Brees as in the touch, the arm talent, the lack of mobility. Hopefully that made sense. LA, he is okay. By the way, Funk is saying that he is a big Chiefs fan and a big Alex Smith fan. So, do you think the Lions ownership now is better than the Chargers ownership? Now, 100%. The Chargers have one of the worst owners in the league, and they've always had issues in the the Chargers have always had ownership issues. You can go back to the 81 Chargers where Fred Dean and it was Fred Dean, and he ended up going to Green Bay. John Jefferson were holding out for more money, and they had a team in 79 and 80 That was really, I think it was 80. Yeah, it was 80. They went to the AFC Championship game, and they had an Air Coryell offense. They just had that terrible defense, and John Jefferson and Fred Dean ended up holding out. Fred Dean ended up going to San Francisco in 81. Well, what happened in 81? The 49ers had Fred Dean. They added Ronnie Lott and Dwight Hicks and ended up going and winning the Super Bowl. And, of course, they ended up building a dynasty. A lot of that had to do with Fred Dean, who the Chargers got rid of because he wanted too much money. And then in 81, they had that great playoff victory, and then, of course, lost in negative 60-degree weather in Cincinnati. And by the way, that's not an exaggeration. That AFC Championship game in 1981 is the coldest game ever in NFL history. It's even colder than the Ice Bowl in the, I think it was 67 NFC Championship game. So, yeah, you got a team that went to Miami when it was like 90% heat and like 90% humidity. Players were dehydrated. And it's almost 150 degrees colder next week in Cincinnati. So, yeah. But anyway, the Chargers ownership. Now, granted, they also brought in Wes Chandler, who a lot of people thought that Chandler was better than Jefferson, but you gave up your really, really good weapon. And then, Fred Dean won a Super Bowl. You traded him, and 49ers team right across the bay ended up winning a Super Bowl. So, yeah, the Chargers ownership, even ever since 1981, has been bad. The Lions, I think, have had pretty solid ownership over the last couple of years, but it looks like the ownership's kind of upticked with the way that they've handled things in this era. Oh, this is a good one. Where do you put Tommy Morrison on your list of King of KC athletes? God, this is a great, great, great question. You can argue both things, okay? He was famous. If you're not in Kansas City, you don't know what Westport is, but Westport is where you go to party, you drink. There's several bars, a lot of dance clubs. In my 20s, I used to hang out there. Now it's more crime-ridden. I'm told that they're, trying to get rid of that, but I don't go down to Westport late at night if I don't have to. Apparently, you could find Tommy Morrison there. Apparently, he has a ton of illegitimate kids. Partied like a rock star. So, kind of, Rocky V. I mean, it's a Rocky movie, but it's not one of the good ones. You can debate if anyone after one is good, but that's another topic for another day. Was a big superstar in a sport that I really, really like. So it's a debate. I don't have him on there. I don't have him on there, but he probably, if you had to give me King of KC athletes, I would add Lynn Dawson and George Brett 1 and 2. I would put Dawson above Brett. Right now, the king will eventually be Mahomes. Derek Thomas, thanks to an untimely death, will always be high up there. I couldn't tell you where Tommy Morrison would be. I wouldn't put him up there, and the only reason why is that, what he did was great and everything, but I just don't have him up there myself. It's great what he did, but just not as high as probably a lot of other people would put him up there. In regards to just AFC West, what is your best bet? I am coming around to that, Tim. That's a great question. So, yeah. LOL, dude has to have his leg blow up for you to be able to compare golf to him. Golf statistically is great when he has time, not so much when he doesn't have to, goes off script. Golf did have some really good years, and I'm anxious to see how he does in Detroit, because I think that him and Anthony Lynn are really going to work good together, because I think that what they are going to do is have a run-first approach, and then I think that what they're going to do is have golf use his touch. I'm actually really excited to see how these two work together. I think these two will work really, really well together. I think it's going to be a really good fit, and I think that this could be really good. I personally also think that what Detroit's trying to do is because they have 2 picks in the first round over the next 2 years is I think that they're just going to have Goff there to kind of steady the ship, but they really want to draft their own guy. That's kind of what I think Detroit's going to do. The best case scenario for Detroit would be for Goff to pan out and then use those draft picks to add some wide receiver talent and to help also that defense, which is going to need some help. I thought the Bengals had really bad ownership. That's an excellent debate because here's the honest to God truth. There's almost no difference between the way the Bengals and the Steelers run their organization. There's almost no difference. Mike Brown, who's the owner of the Bengals, is the son of Paul Brown. Paul Brown, of course, creator of the Browns. I'm not going to go into a history lesson there, but the owner is the general manager. Same thing in Pittsburgh, same thing in Dallas. Now, it's a little different in Dallas, but how the Pittsburgh Steelers are run and how Cincinnati Bengals are run is exactly the same. It's just one side in Pittsburgh has a bunch of Super Bowl rings. One side in Cincinnati has none. The owner is the general manager. He's very involved with the day-to-day operations. He's very involved with the draft. He doesn't have a general manager, neither do the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you can debate. The thing is, though, when Pittsburgh does it and they win Super Bowls, it's considered great. It's considered fantastic. When Cincinnati does it because they don't have the results, it's considered bad. You can debate that either way. I actually like the way the Bengals are structured. It just hasn't worked. But I do like the way it's structured. Let me ask you something. If you were to buy an NFL team, wouldn't you want to be involved? Your dad basically built the NFL. Paul Brown is without Paul Brown, the modern NFL doesn't exist. I mean, with Paul Brown's influence into the NFL, that's a history lesson, and that's a lot to go into. But without Paul Brown, the NFL doesn't exist. You're Mike Brown. You grew up. Your dad built the Bengals from scratch as a spite to Art Modell, who kicked you. You signed a contract when you sold the team. Okay, I said I wasn't going to history lesson. I am going to do history. Okay, here's the deal. Paul Brown sold the Browns to Art Modell under the condition that he would be the lifetime head coach and have all the control of personnel decisions. And Art Modell, after some time, said, no, I'm done. So out of spite, he built the team in Cincinnati. Look at those old school helmets. It's exactly the same as the Browns. It says Bengals on the side. And they hated the Cleveland Browns. It was built out of spite and hatred. So you grew up with a dad who built a team in Cincinnati to beat the Browns. And your whole life you spent learning about the NFL, learning about how to run a team, how to run an organization. So, yeah, he wants to be involved with it. He wants to have a decision. I don't have a problem with it. A lot of people do. I don't. I think the Bengals are actually pretty well run because if you're the head coach, you don't have to go to the general manager who has to go to the owner. You go directly to the owner and you say, hey, I want A, B, and C. Another thing about the Bengals is how long was last I heard he was in Arizona State with Herm Edwards. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. He won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. Anyway, he was there for 16, 17 years. Didn't have a playoff win. How many owners would let a coach who's been successful but didn't win a playoff game allow? There's actually stability and continuity in Cincinnati that there's not with a lot of other NFL teams. So I actually think the Bengals are run well. It just hasn't worked. That's just my opinion. Tim did have a good question. And I'm coming to this, Tim, I promise. Sheila, yes. I think they're run well now. I think they're run now. Red Sea, I'm finally here better late than – Did he party? Yes, he did party more than Stabler. Okay, the rumors are in Kansas City that you could find him in bars passed out on the floor. Apparently, he was having sex in bathrooms, and because, he was just, a star, and Kansas City's a small market, so a lot of his exploits were considered held under wraps. Apparently, he has like 12 to 15 known illegitimate kids. partied like a rock star. Stabler was known more for scoring and just coming up with sayings. He actually, he partied, but he wasn't a hardcore partier. Tommy Morrison was a hardcore partier. I mean, Tommy Morrison, drugs, alcohol. He went to a concert and was drinking beer before a heavyweight championship fight. I mean, if you know anything about boxing, that's a big no-no. He lost that fight. But, hey, dude, you're at a concert. I mean, that's a screw-up. Stabler, was known for having a few beers late at night before a game, but he always played well. Anyway, I kind of went on rant, but, If I owned a team, I would have the assistant GM, but I'm running the show. Well, that's what Mike Brown does. The Steelers do. Okay, they do, but the Rooney family runs everything. They have a GM, but it's not really a GM. The Rooney family makes the decisions. Now, Mike Brown does not have a GM, but how the Steelers and the Bengals are run is almost exactly the same. Now, the Steelers may have somebody they call a GM, but the ownership makes the decisions. Does that make sense? So, Week 1 matchups, and Tim. No, where is it? Where is it? All right, I'm coming to this. I am coming to this. The Chargers will play at Washington. They are a 1-point favorite. By the way, this game's at noon. You have a team going from the West Coast to the East Coast. Cleveland will go to Kansas City. They are currently a 6-point dog. I'm sorry, Cleveland's a 6-point dog. Kansas City's 6-point favorite. This is actually going to be a really, really good game. I'm actually really looking forward to this one. Denver's going to New York. New York is a 1-point dog at home. And I'm kind of surprised this number's as low as it is. Baltimore's traveling to Vegas, and Vegas is a 4-point home dog. I'm kind of worried about this one because you see this. So a lot of people are really high on Baltimore, so I think this number is actually going to go up. So if you really, 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 really like the Raiders, wait on this one. So I'm going to say the Lions better not trade, and the Steelers have Colbert. Okay. Now, my best bets. You asked for it, Tim. The Chargers at Washington. Washington is a 1-point favorite. Washington will win this football game. I'm telling you this right now. You have a very loaded defensive line against an offensive line that's going to mix and match. You have a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for a noon game. Well, actually, it'll be noon Central Standard Time. It'll be 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. A team that has to travel across the country to play early against this defensive line is going to be tough. I'm telling you right now, Washington is going to win this game. I don't take the point. I'm sorry. Take the money line. Last I looked, it was plus 125. So a $100 wager will win you 125. This is actually my number one game to bet on for week 1. Take the Redskins because this is going to go up. I think you're going to get 1.5. So you can probably make 130, maybe even 135 if you want to take the Redskins outright. I'm going to take the Redskins outright. Even if this goes all the way up to 2, I'm going to say forget the points. The Redskins are going to win this game. The Redskins are going to win this game. You get a rookie head coach, new offense, new defense, going against Ron Rivera and a really good defensive line against a makeshift offensive line. The Redskins I'm sorry, the Washington football team. This is my number one game to bet on. I love the Washington football team week 1. Cleveland at Kansas City. I kind of like Kansas City in 6. Excuse me. I kind of like Kansas City in 6. I think that this is a really, really, really good number. And the reason why I say this is because Cleveland could have as many as 9 new starters on that defense. And they're not going to be ready week 1 for Kansas City's offense. The last 3 years, Kansas City scored 38, 42, and 34 points in season openers. Kansas City is one of the best teams as far as season openers. So I definitely do like Kansas City. I think Cleveland is going to be a team to disappoint. So I kind of sort of like it. This is the magic number, over 52.5. This is what you want to bet on. It would not surprise me if this number jumps up to 54.5, maybe even 55 at some places. The reason why I urge you not to run to the window is because it's in Kansas City. And for those of you that are not familiar with the Midwest, it can be crazy weather. It could be a tornado. It could be a thunderstorm. Could be 50-mile-an-hour wind. Nobody knows. So once I can get it verified that the weather is going to be nice or acceptable, I'm definitely taking over 52.5 because this is going to be a high-scoring game. I probably will take Kansas City -6 because I think that Cleveland with it, I mean, you're looking at 4 to 5. I mean, you could have 9 new starters, but they're probably going to have at least 5 or 6 new starters on that defense. Kansas City week 1 is one of the best bets you can make. Andy Reid and Kansas City 7-1 in season openers, and the last 3 with Patrick Mahomes as a starter, 38, 42, and 34 points. They put up a lot of points week 1. Kansas City week 1 is one of the best bets that you can make, any Andy Reid team. So, but Washington winning against the Chargers in Washington. I almost said RFK Stadium. I think it's named something different. I love this game. That is my number 1 game. So that's what I got for you. Okay. I had no idea what you're talking about with Hardy, but I am jacked up. N'Keal Harry. Okay. For those of you who don't know, N'Keal Harry, first-round draft pick for the Patriots. I thought that this was a great move for the Patriots. Played under Herm Edwards. I joked around because his senior year is when Herm Edwards came. And I said, how much is Herm Edwards going to hurt this kid? Because he was a Heisman favorite. Some people thought he was good enough to go number 1 overall. He was 6'4", 215, but was also the Arizona Devils punt returner. It's really rare when you have a guy with that type of size. I actually thought he could be a Keenan Allen type of player, but Herm Edwards took over and he ended up going 22nd. Really, his production did take a dip. Herm Edwards kind of actually running kind of a creative offensive and defensive scheme at Arizona State. I love Herm Edwards. So, but the thing is, on the NFL level, N'Keal Harry has been a disaster. He's just been awful, and now he's asking for a trade. I'm not really sure where he's going to go or if he's going to get traded, but I really do. I loved him coming out of college, and I thought that this was going to be a really good fit for the New England Patriots. Hasn't worked. Do I see him going to Detroit? I don't know about that. I will say the one thing I can guarantee you is that your roster now and your roster opening day is going to be 2 different and separate things. So there is going to be turnover, but I'm not sure N'Keal Harry is really what you want. It'd be interesting. Washington has a top 3 pass rush against a young QB with a bottom 3 offensive line. Simple math equals Herbert. Exactly. Red Sea, I could not have said it any better myself. That's why this is my number 1 game. A strong defensive line against a weak offensive line with a new system, with a young quarterback. Everything equals Washington. I love Washington. This is my number 1 game. My number 1 game is Washington winning outright. Right now, they're a 1-point dog. So, yeah, you could take the 1 point, but the 1 point's -110. Last I looked, it was -110, and then it's 125. People are going to bet on the Chargers due to proximity to Vegas, and San Diego's got a higher earning per capita than DC, not including diplomats and delegates and everything like that. So I think it's actually going to jump up to 1.5 or 2. Take Washington to win outright. You may be able to get a really, really big number. That's one game I am going to put action on. And I do like the over for the Chiefs and the Browns. 6 is a big number, but I do think Kansas City will cover 6. Taking Fitzmagic, yeah. There's a lot of things to like about the Washington football team, but I really, really, really like Washington that week 1 game. I do like Slater going to the Chargers. I do too. I liked what the Chargers did in the draft, and I do like that you get Slater in there. But I mean, look who he's going against. He'll go against Chase Young or Montez Sweat as a rookie, game 1. Those are two tough. I mean, you have to think he may struggle week one. You have to think he may struggle week one. Hey, Harry's been a major disappointment. I was okay. It's funny how we are agreeing on N'Keal Harry. Yeah, he gets hurt his rookie year, then gets a concussion and contemplated retirement. Yeah, it's a damn shame because you watch him. I'm not talking a senior, as a junior. He looked like he could have gone number one overall. He looked really, really good. I actually thought he would be a lot like Keyshawn Johnson coming into the league, and just hasn't played like it. I don't know what kind of value he has. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure if he'll stay on the Patriots. Patriots cut him. The Patriots trade him. I have no idea. If I was a Lions fan, would I want him to come to Detroit? Maybe. And I know it's a bad answer, but that's just what I get. That's the best thing I can give you. Since Carey can't beat out Jacoby Myers, yeah, he's a bust. Yeah. Can't separate. And he can't. I really think that if given the chance, I loved his game coming out of Arizona State. I mean, he looked like I actually thought he had a chance to go number one overall. Man, when Herm went there, I joked around, it's how much will having Herm kill him. And I just thought he was going to be so good. I actually was like, wow, they may, I thought he was going to be the number one wide receiver in New England, and it was such a disappointment. New England's had a history of just drafting these wide receivers over the last couple of years, and they've just been terrible. It's the one thing about the Patriots over the last, it's been like, I have to go back. They drafted a couple different wide receivers in the first round, and they've all been terrible. So he was never going to be a great separator. He's more of a Michael Irvin type, strong body guy. He could block, played real aggressive in college. Yeah, watch him play in college. He played like a man among boys. And no, he never had the great speed, but I really thought that he would learn routes, use his hands. He was a big dude, man. He's a big dude. So I really liked N'Keal Harry coming out of college. I really thought that him and Brady would cause a lot of problems over the last couple of years, but it hasn't been that way. If I was a Lions fan, would I want him? I wouldn't be really excited. I would be shocked if the Lions really traded for him. So not to mention Chargers don't have much. Yeah, exactly. You don't. There's a lot of problems with the Chargers. I know there's a lot of people that are really high on the Chargers. I am not one of them. You have some issues with the offensive line. You have a new offensive philosophy. Week one, my number one game is Washington winning that game outright. And like I said, it's probably going to go to 1.5, maybe even 2. So that's going to be a good one. Don't want Larry on the lines. Oh my God, I got Luke G. Man, listen, man, Luke, by the way, I didn't even put it in the description, but please, if you have not already, please subscribe to the Luke G Field Review. I didn't have a chance to listen to your whole show, but he brought in a college football guy. I actually really got a kick out of it. I didn't have a chance to listen to the whole thing. I did subscribe to that guy. I put a comment in there. I'm already really jacked up and going all over the place, but man, Luke G's in the house. Subscribe to his channel. He knows his Lions. He knows his Lions. And unlike a lot of fanboys, I don't know if you listen to this or not, but I had a fanboy in Jacksonville tell me they're going to win 9 games. Oh, yeah, you betting on it? Well, I'm not really going to bet on it. You don't get that from Luke G. You don't get that from Luke G. You don't have him making outlandish things on the Detroit Lions. You get the facts. And I also love his college stuff. And then he had a guy talking all about college, which I really loved. If I don't get a chance today, it'll probably be tomorrow. I'm going to listen to the whole show. But damn, I got Luke G in the house, man. God damn, I'm jacked up now, man. Larry Legend compared Harry to Anton Bolden, a pure strength receiver, not refined in anything other than physicality yet. But Harry is just way too bad. I actually thought that Anton Bolden was an accurate analogy. Actually, he was taller. I thought he was legitimate 6'4", where Bolden, I think, was 6'1", 6'2". And I remember when Bolden was drafted, I remember like week 1, I think he had something like 9 catches, 120. I was like, oh my God. And it was funny because he was actually drafted, recruited at Florida State, who's actually a quarterback. They switched him to wide receiver, and he was kind of a raw guy. Goes to Arizona, just balls out immediately. And I thought that there was a lot of similarities, and I thought he could be an Antoine Bolden type of player, especially in New England. I thought that was a great draft pick by the Patriots. It's really sad when you see a player who looked as good as he did, more as a junior. His senior year with Herm Edwards did take a dip down, but was still really productive. I want to say he had something like 75 catches, 1,000 yards, but just wasn't the same type of player who had Heisman hype. Going into that season, when Herm Edwards took over for the Arizona State Devils, there was talk about N'Keal Harry going number 1. There was legitimate talk about him being the first player chosen in the draft, which hasn't happened since Keyshawn Johnson. I mean, he was that good as a junior. Then it dipped a little bit with Herm Edwards. But I thought when the Patriots drafted him, I was like, this is going to be a home run. This guy's going to be dominant. And he just – it's really sad, to be honest with you. If you're a Lions fan, I wouldn't be overly excited. But I do think if he goes somewhere else, I think there is a possibility he could resurrect his career. Would I want him in Kansas City? No, he doesn't fit what Andy Reid's doing at all. I actually don't. I think if he came to Kansas City in a trade, I don't think he'd make the team. Yeah, I know. That's what I was excited about because I want to get more into college football. So anyway, I'm going to stop that rant, but yeah, I love it. I love it. A little love for Luke G. You got to love Luke G, man. I'm jacked up him. Jacked up he's here. Giving some love to One Pride 40 and Funk's giving him some love. This is great, man. This is awesome. Did you expect that? No, I did not. I actually really watched the guy if you watch some of his, go back and watch some of his Arizona State games. I mean, he looked like a man among boys. I mean, in college, he looked like he was a top 5 player his junior year. He looked like he was worthy of being a top 5 player. He was easily worth being a first-round draft pick. He really was. I remember he had a pretty good game against my Kansas City Chiefs in a loss with the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. He had a play that kind of sort of maybe iffy, looked like he went and scored a touchdown when he was rolled out of bounds. It was kind of an iffy thing. But he actually had a good game against Kansas City, and I was expecting more of that. Just didn't happen. Could he resurrect his career somewhere? Absolutely, he can. Do I think he'll be he could stay in New England. He could have a breakout year. I do think if he goes to another team, depending on the team, he could resurrect his career. I loved his game coming out of college. Loved his game. Yeah. Showing some love here, man. Welcome back, Luke G, who was talking college, all about some college ball. Headliner I forgot his name. I didn't have a chance to watch the whole show, but I ended up subscribing to his channel. Does a ton of college stuff. I should have talked to Luke before I came on the air. I didn't have the opportunity to do that because I would love to have Headliner come on my show and talk some college football. I'm kind of going off topic here, so I'm going to kind of steer back because there's a ton of stuff I want to ask Luke about that. So I'm going to have to get Luke, me and you need to talk because I had a bunch of questions I wanted to ask about that show. And after I get done watching it, I'm going to hit you up. Alex, welcome, brother, man. By the way, in case you didn't know, I am doing the Houston Texans Monday. So I will have your Texans team broken down for Monday for you. So Luke's showing some love, man. Alex is here. Headliner was on Luke G's show, does a lot of college. I just subscribed to his channel because I really want to get more into it. And I'm really hoping that I can get a hold of him. That way next year's draft comes around, I can kind of go over some of this stuff because I use Luke G when I'm going over some players. Now, Luke breaks down college players for Detroit. I look at 32 different teams, but I always look at Luke G's draft review. Does a really good job in breaking down films and player evaluations. I put Luke G's college reports up there with almost anybody. I love Luke G's college report. So I'm not kissing his ass. I just like what I like. So there. Alex agrees with Funk. By the way, both Alex and Funk have become big-time Chiefs fans with Denver Gator. Chiefs win division easily. Broncos can be a second-place team. Chargers up and coming, not close to contention. Raiders will have a good start. This is actually what the Raiders have done the last couple of years. Is they start off very, very strong. As a matter of fact, last year they beat Kansas City, and at one point I think was a 5-2 when they beat Kansas City. I think I'd have to go back and double check. I think Kansas City was 6-0 at Arrowhead, and then the Raiders won, and then the Raiders took a couple victory laps, which Kansas City really pissed some Chiefs fans off, and it pissed off some players. It didn't bother Andy Reid, and for those of you that don't know, John Gruden and Andy Reid go way back. They're both assistant position coaches under Mike Holmgren with the Green Bay Packers. Andy Reid was a tight ends coach, and then Gruden was a special assistant to the receivers. Gruden was actually a gopher. His position was a gopher. He had to go get everybody's coffee and donuts for the Green Bay Packers under Mike Holmgren, and then Andy Reid was a tight ends coach, and this was back in I may even be late 80s, but these two go back way, way, way back, so there's no animosity between the two. But Gruden's done a good job of competing against Andy Reid and bringing in the Chargers' former defensive coordinator to coach his Raiders. And keep in mind, these two were together in Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl, so there's some continuity. So there's a lot of really good things going on with the Raiders, but that's what the Raiders been doing, starting off fast and dying off. I do agree with you, Alex. I have Denver as my number 2 team. The Chargers, I think, are really going to take a step back, and it's a step back from a 6-win team. I will stand by this. I think they really, really, really made a mistake in letting Anthony Lynn go. He finished the season. You lose your best defensive player. You lose your quarterback because the team doctor punctured his lung, and you bring in a quarterback. You dumb down the offense, scale it down to what he knows how to run, and he was in a bunch. They were in a bunch of games. They lost some games by 1 score, which is not really that bad of a thing. And then you win your last 4 games and you give them the axe. I thought that was a big mistake. So I think the Chargers, even though they only won 6 games, I actually expect them to be going on the downslide this year, not the upside, which most people think. So, yeah, oh man, I'm sorry, I got behind on comments. I was ranting. He said he's already done. I've heard about, okay, Red Sea, I heard he asked for a trade. He's already said he's done. He's still under contract. They still have him. There's a good chance that he may stay with the team. It wouldn't surprise me opening day N'Keal Harry's a Patriot. It would not surprise me, despite of what you hear in social media and everything. I call him I'm watching the Astros play the Yankees right now. Great matchup. All right, that's awesome. Good luck with the Astros. As you know, I know nothing about baseball. Alex, there'll be no Raiders slander. I think Harry could do well in the Steelers, maybe the Hawks. You know, actually, to tell you the truth, I think Seattle would be a great fit. And the Steelers, I think, are loaded at wide receiver, but I could see that. I could see both of those teams. I don't see them in Kansas City, and I don't think Detroit's a good spot for them. And, dude, yes, I'm going to finish watching that show, and then I had a bunch of questions. And to be honest, Luke, you're always welcome on here, brother. I probably should hit you up and see if you want to talk to AFC West, because it's kind of hard for me to do it because I always talk. It's kind of hard for me to talk about my team. You know, I had you on to talk about your team. You should have came on talking about my team. So, yeah, I should have had you come on this show. But, yeah, I'm going to hit you up, man, as soon as I finish watching that show, because I want to ask you some questions about college ball. If he struggled with Bill, what makes you think he could concede with other coaches? Yeah, I actually have a really good 0.1 Pride 40, but sometimes a player just needs a change of scenery. It doesn't always have to do with the coaching. Just sometimes it just doesn't work. I mean, there's players that didn't play that left New England and played well in other places. It doesn't happen very often, but it could be they just need scenery. Here's a player who is so good on the college ranks. It's hard to believe he's that bad of a pro, but is it still? It's still possible he could end up having a good year with the Patriots. It is possible, believe it or not. What's my gut feeling? My gut feeling is that he'll end up being cut or traded. But whatever happens to him, just so far what I've seen in his NFL career, it's just really disappointing because he was so good in college. Funk, Raiders aren't good. I'm sorry. They can put pressure on teams within the division. Sure, they aren't a good team. I think this is the Chiefs division, and it's hard for me to say otherwise. But I mean, is there really a team that's going to compete with the Chiefs this year if they're healthy? I really don't think so. But I do think that the Raiders and the Broncos are up and coming teams, and the Chargers I think have a lot more question marks than the majority of people think. So. One Pride 40, they won't treat them like a first-round pick. They use big wide receivers different than most teams. All right. Hey, Dan, did you see that Wager Talk? Great stuff for bettors. Oh, yes. I'm a huge fan of Wager Talk. I'm a big subscriber. I followed Wager Talk for a long time. What's his name? I know I keep wanting to call him Jimmy the Greek, but he's Greek something. He actually responds to me on Twitter. I kind of message him back and forth. And then Kelly in Vegas has gotten too big, but she used to respond to Twitter. She actually sent me a link that I still use. I have it saved on here where you can get all the odds for all the Vegas. Her and Minty Bets, I message occasionally the over-under girl. Different Vegas sports better. But yes, I've been following Wager Talk for several years. They actually, Mike, they have a great show Friday afternoon where they talk about prop bets for the NFL. Last year was the first year. I hope they come out with it again. Mid-Major Matt and two other guys it's a world-class prop show. These guys were on fire last year collecting on prop bets, some really, really good stuff. I made that into my rotation of something I do every Friday. And I'll talk about it on this show because I'm going to do a show Friday and make sure I kind of go over some of the information because they had some really, really good stuff. Matter of fact, that show ended up opening me up to prop betting, which I had mixed success. But this year, I'm going to pay attention to it a lot more closely and try to get a profit prop betting. But I'm sorry, some spit came out of there. But yeah, I've been a fan of Wager Talk for quite some time. I'm going to say about 4 years. Big fan of Wager Talk. Oh yeah, he's talking. Okay. All right, I got behind on my comments here. If Denver gets a quarterback that's actually worth anything, then they will have the best roster in that division and could very well win it. This roster is dumb. No, I agree completely. The only thing is, though, I think Drew Lock is that quarterback. I mean, Drew Lock has a lot of talent. I mean, he really looked good at Missouri. And again, it's the same thing that I said with Derek Carr. When you're in division with Patrick Mahomes, you're going to get overlooked. But, I mean, you remember when he was a rookie, they had Joe Flacco, and they were going to go all in with Flacco. And then what happened is Drew Lock slid into the second round. Everybody had him as a first-round quarterback. He kind of slid into the second round. Denver took advantage of it. And then what happened is Flacco didn't play very well, which I saw a mile away. They put Drew Lock in, ended up finishing the year 4-1. Then they fired the offensive coordinator, brought in Pat Shurmur. And Pat Shurmur is a really overly conservative coach. And then, with COVID, then they had Jerry Jeudy, first-year wide receiver. Then their Pro Bowl wide receiver, Cortland Sutton, got injured in training camps. There's a lot of reasons why Denver didn't go. Denver's offense kind of struggled. I didn't blame Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock's going to have a really good year. I think he's going to have a really good year. But if he doesn't, then I think this will kind of be his last chance. But you're 100% correct. Denver Broncos are really loaded. They were very aggressive in free agency, stacking up on corners. Then they get Patrick Surtain with the 9th pick, who I think is going to be a plug-and-play guy, and I think he's going to be a several-time Pro Bowler. And then offensive skill position talent that Denver has is really, really, really good. So it's all it's waiting on for Denver is just for Drew Lock to step up, and I think he will. I think Denver's definitely a team on the rise. I've been in football hell, Lion and Raiders. It just come on over to the Chiefs bandwagon. There's tons of room. Drinking a cafe, watching baseball, chatting football, good times all around. Alex is living his best life. Funk, you're 100% correct. Hey, but Dan, you're still – yes! I definitely want a jersey. Please tell me you're 69. Just sub to the U. Texan video will be really short. Basically. The Texans. That's actually really good. Yeah, I'm going to go into some detail Monday. There's some positives to the Houston Texans. It's not as bad as it looks, but yes, I'll have my Texans video Monday. Funky Lions fan, Raiders just need to manage that defense together and continue to let Carr manage the game. That was the one thing that I really thought the Raiders were going to address this offseason, because you brought in some of the coordinators that helped you win a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. And what won that Super Bowl is Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice, Booger McFarland, that really, really good defensive line. And instead of attacking that defensive line in free agency in the draft, you had the Ngannou, but I really thought that they were going to add a couple defensive tackles and they end up getting a bunch of safeties. So, I mean, they're still a work in progress, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. Carr's actually played some pretty damn good football over the last couple of years, but he's in the division with Patrick Mahomes, so he's been way overlooked. But Carr's actually playing some pretty damn good football. I would actually have him as a top 12 quarterback, maybe even higher. He's playing some really good football. It's just you're in the division with Mahomes, so it's really difficult to get noticed. One Pride 40 Luke their draft. I thought it was bad, so we'll have to see, because Morig is I'm not sure he'll start as a rookie, but I think his upside's really good. And Leatherwood's going to be a day one starter on the right side. I gave their grade a D, mainly because they really needed help on that defensive line and they ignored it. And Nganou's not. They needed more than just Ngannou. So yeah. I can't trust the Raiders to do much with the draft. With the draft, I don't have interest in them contending. Chargers will be better, in my opinion. Their QB is up and coming. Their O-line is improved, and I don't think. The coaching situation is terrible. Funk, this is a great life. Okay, well, here's the thing. They lost, was it Dan Feeler, Feeney, something like that. Anyway, they lost, and he was a really good guard. They lost him. They also lost their left tackle. They're going to replace him with a rookie. So they really didn't get better on their offensive line. Now, Slater, as a rookie, should be pretty good. But to sit here and say that you're going to draft a rookie left tackle, we fixed our offensive line problems, you can't really do that. Dan Feeney, that's who it was. They also lost one of their starters on the offensive line. I think they lost another starter. So their offensive line's in flux. You can't really say that their offensive line's got better. Yeah, Herbert played really good last year, but a lot of that was to do with Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn changed the offense on the fly and kind of dumbed it down to a college-style offense. Now you got Lombardi who's coming in. Is he going to run a college-style offense? You don't want to do that 2 years in a row, because if you come out and you run a college-style offense, you're in a world of hurt, especially in this division. I mean, you're competing against a team that's been to the two consecutive Super Bowls and 3 consecutive AFC championship games with the Chiefs. So you're going to run a college-style offense for a second straight season? No, you can't do that. You have to institute a pro-style offense with new starters on the offensive line. And you're taking a young quarterback. He's still a young dude. Brand new offense. And then Derwin James, yeah, he was a really good player, but he's been hurt the last 2 years. What are your expectations for him? And keep in mind, you're switching defensive schemes. That's why I'm not as high on the Chargers as a lot of people. The Raiders defense is going to run my Clemson defense, who knows, running 4 safeties. Luke, I should have had you on this show to talk about the AFC West. I'd love to get somebody's opinion who's not a fan of an AFC West team like myself. But I do think the Chiefs are easily the favorite. But I think it's interesting because you got 3 really interesting teams. I think Denver is the team I really worry about, but I can make a case for the Raiders making the playoffs. I don't think the Chargers are as good. I think you think flip-flop Denver and the Chargers, if I remember right. So, Luke, I'm going Chiefs. Denver Gator is a huge Chiefs fan. Why are the West Division so good? NFC West is the best division. AFC West probably second or third best. You can make an argument for both of those divisions being pretty good. I'd argue there's a potential for the NFC North to be pretty good. The Bears are kind of a team I don't know. They could be really good. They could be really bad. I think Minnesota's a team on the rise. And then you have Green Bay. There was another division I was looking at that was really, really good. But there's something to do with the West. Funk is a huge Chiefs fan that says the Chiefs will only lose 2 games in the regular season but win a Super Bowl. And I'm really behind on comments. So, you drink as much as you want. Funk, I fully support the full-heartedly. Let's go Chiefs. Dude, send me the link. You know what, Luke? I can do that, man. Let me see here. How do I, hold on, Luke. Give me a minute, man. I'm going to send it to Twitter, man. All right. This is a real treat here. I get Luke G to join me live, man. All right, Luke, let me know if you get that, brother, man. Hell yeah, you can come on, man. Kelly at Wager Talks is my dream girl, definitely future ex-wife. Yeah, I followed her for so long. She actually used to be able to message. I actually messaged her back and forth. She graduated from K-State, left K-State in college and was a bartender and was just good at making picks and end up building a brain. Lots of respect for Kelly in Vegas. A lot of people think that she's just a young, good-looking girl. No, she actually made a brand for herself. Love what she did. I thought it was genius. Oh, man, start, trade, cut. Riggins, Campbell, Bettis. That is a tough one. That is such a tough one. Okay, at his best, Campbell's the best. Trade Bettis, you get the most value. Cut Riggins. But Matt, oh, God, that's a tough one. You just want Drew Lock to start because he's awful, so you get 2. Let go, me and Alex versus Dave. And Alex is definitely cheering for the Chiefs. And I work for KC when they're against the Ravens and the Patriots. And then don't sleep on Locke. He's got a lot to prove people. I actually do think, and hold on, here we go. Luke.
What up, dude? What's going on, man?
Man, Luke, what is up, brother, man? Thanks for joining me, man.
Hey, man, absolutely. I was sitting up here listening, and I'm like, damn, the AFC West is an interesting division. Depends on how you view it. Like I was looking at like the rosters and different moves, and I started thinking more about it, and I was like, this is one of the divisions that I think could be a fun division this year. I think it's
going to be a fun one. Luke, who do you have 1 through 4?
All right, so what I did was I basically, and I know somebody's going to get mad when I do this. They're going to say, oh, well, why can you say that? But this is how I got it. I got it Kansas City number 1. You have to give it to them just by virtue that they have the better culture. And ironically, I'm going to make a crazy statement because people are going to think I'm nuts, but I got the Raiders going number 2.
Okay, and you got the Raiders going too.
Yeah, I think the new head coach that's over there in San Diego, I don't know enough about him to feel confident that he can unseat John Gruden. The one thing about John Gruden is he's generally good at constantly making those adjustments to put his team on in a good position on the fly. So I think that he'll go to number 2. I got Denver in the basement.
Yeah, Denver in the basement. Okay, we got Denver flip-flopped a little bit.
Yeah, see, I got Denver in the basement not because of Drew Lock, though. It's not because of Drew Lock. It's because I don't necessarily always see them commit to the run, and I don't know why they don't. And another thing I noticed with Drew Lock is I don't know if this is by play design or if Drew Lock is doing this on his own, but he need to fall more in love with Noah Fant. He needs to really fall more in love with the tight end.
I couldn't agree with you more. I thought Noah Fant coming out. I've said this many times. I think Noah Fant, it may just be a matter of time before he's the best tight end in the National Football League. My personal opinion is I blame that on Pat Shurmur. He was the Giants head coach. They brought him over last year to be the offensive coordinator. And then I think that he had a really, really tough time adapting his offense with the limited offseason and everything. But I'm not sure that Shermer's offense really fits the talent that they got, because Denver has some really good skill position talent. I'm not sure Shermer's the guy to put it all together, because look what he did in New York his last couple of years. They ran a pretty boring offense for the most part. It was kind of an old school offense, wasn't very creative, and you got way too much talent. So that's the one thing about Denver that really scares me, is I don't think they got the right offensive guy.
Right. Plus, you also got to ask yourself the question, is Drew Lock going to be the starting quarterback for them? Because you got Teddy Bridgewater over there. And so now the question becomes, are we better off letting Teddy Bridgewater take over the helm while letting him get some more groom? Because they went out and they did things that I think was smart. When you added Javonte Williams, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you got him.
That was a great move.
It's a big pick, great pickup. And then you got him in complimentary to Melvin Gordon. But they also still have Royce Freeman and Boone. And then you look at the receiving core, and it's like the receiving core is speed on top of speed with more speed. And you would think that they would be able to, run it. But I just feel like the quarterback, especially with Drew Lock, he has to fall in love with Noah Fant. This forcing passes to Jerry Jeudy crap that he was doing when Jerry Jeudy wasn't the hot hand in some of them games, I didn't understand it. So that's how I look at Denver and see that, okay, Denver can do X amount of things differently. But for me, overall, I feel like Denver's going to be in the basement, but I just think it's because, like they offensive coordinator and their head coach seem like they on two different pages. It seems like you got, like he's letting them just coach the games, but it's like you need to step in there and be like, bro, I want the ball on the ground a little bit more, and we got to find more plays to work in the tight end. No offense, it's a matchup nightmare.
I agree completely. And as a Chiefs fan, I love the fact that they're not using them right. And that's one of the problems. You got an old school defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. He was in Chicago, had the Bears with one of the best defenses. So when he went over to Denver, I was like, okay, they're going to build an old school offense. Then they take all the skill position talent. And I'm like, wait a minute, you take a really good defense, all the skill position talent. But it's like driving a car in second gear. Offensively, you're right. They're force feeding Jeudy when you got this super athletic tight end. You got a physical offensive line. You got Melvin Gordon did really good as a running back. They didn't want to run the ball 25 times a game. I didn't get that. I did like Javonte Williams pick. I wonder, this is Gordon's last year under contract, so I'm wondering what they're going to do. But the talent in Denver's there, but I don't know if the coaching staff's the right fit.
And that's the thing that I look at. Like if I were to go through and I'm doing a breakdown on each one of these teams, and I'm looking at it, I would be saying to myself, okay, where do these teams need to improve at? Where are these teams already good at? And then the biggest part of it would be, how does these teams take over the division from the other teams in the group? And when I look at Kansas City, I'm like, who can do a constant repeat of what the Bucks did? Because it wasn't just the Bucks who gave Kansas City a problem last year, right? Like everybody just remember the Bucks because it was in the biggest game. It was in the biggest game of the year. But there was other teams who gave Kansas City problems, and people act as if though that was not the case, right? But that was absolutely the case. There were games where I was trying to figure out, like, why are y'all in the shootout with the Texans? Right, like
in the shootout with we had a close game we had a bunch of close games, but that was a big thing that the Raiders did, is that the Chargers defense gave Kansas City problems. So what did Gruden do when the Chargers overhauled their coaching staff? He took their defensive coordinator. He said, "Hey, come on over here. Remember, we won a Super Bowl together in Tampa."
Right,
who's he familiar with? Well, he coached against the AFC West for the last 4 years. That was a hidden, brilliant move that Gruden did, and that's a reason why a lot of people are really low on the Raiders. I'm like, wait a minute. All these defensive coordinators or all these defensive coaches, Gruden's familiar with them. He won a Super Bowl with them, so he knows what they can do. They did win a Super Bowl. The only thing I don't like about the Raiders, and just talking, if I was a Raiders fan, is that defensive line needed a lot of improvement, and they got nobody except for Ngannou.
Well, they added Quentin Jefferson. I think he's decent, and then you start to go down the list on other talent that they added and picked up. I think Solomon Thomas is going to be a quiet, welcome addition. And then you start to just go through and you look at the linebacker core behind that. I think they definitely did some things to get better in areas that many people didn't pay attention to. But I started to pay more attention, and I started to think about these damn safeties that they took. And the more I look at these safeties that they took, I said, "Oh, I see what they're finna do. They're finna play small ball defense." Either Jonathan Abrams.
That's exactly what the Tampa 2 defense is all about.
Yeah, because I think they're finna move like Devin Diablo finna be playing linebacker. I think that Jonathan Abrams is gonna be playing a little bit of linebacker. Excuse me, and I think Tyree Gillespie is going to be in the mix as well. So you start to figure out, okay, they're playing small ball defense, and you start to look at how they're structuring this team and getting everything together. They're the one team that I look at and I say, look, if they don't look like idiots for taking Alex Leatherwood like they did, then this line can hold up. And they can keep turning around and hand that ball off to Josh Jacobs, and then you added Kenyon Drake. Jesus,
that's the guy I was trying to remember. Now, apparently, Kenyon Drake, they're going to have him play receiver, but I'm hoping that
I ain't buying that.
I'm hoping that's just a lie. That's what they said, and I don't see that either. I see him kind of. He did catch a lot of passes in Arizona, and it's good that he catches some passes, but he can't be a wide receiver. At least I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't. The reason I don't see him as a receiver because they still got Theo Reddick, and Theo Reddick is basically a slot receiver playing running.
Now, I have to admit, I missed where Solomon Thomas was picked up. That's actually a great pickup for the Raiders. That's a perfect player. That was a guy who I thought was going to be a great move for the 49ers, and he just flamed out. So,
yeah, I mean, they brought in Jonathan Hankins, and then you got Quentin Jefferson. So now that's going to be your 2 D tackles, right? And then obviously you got Ngakoue. So you figure, okay, well, it's something there, right? But to me, it's the combination of Ngakoue with the rest of the D linemen. You got Farrell out on the other end, and then now you can still rotate in Max Crosby, right? And now you got Solomon Thomas, who you can rotate from D tackle or DN, right? Which creates a whole nother problem, right?
Well, yeah, I think Williams has outplayed Klein Farrell. That was just a bust, taking him 4th overall. And Max Williams, the 4th round pick, I remember as a rookie had 10.5 sacks. He's actually played pretty damn well.
Oh, you mean Max Crosby? The Eastern Michigan.
Yeah. I thought that was a great pickup for the Raiders. It was just kind of comical that your 4th round pick plays 10 times better than the guy you took 4th overall.
But the utilization and what they're asked to do are different. That's why you see that big difference and that big jump. With Max Crosby, he was basically told, like, hey, I need you to use your athletic ability, maintain the outside perimeter while getting towards the quarterback. And Farrell was asked to do a whole lot more. He was asked to set other people up. I remember watching what was it? Raiders versus – trying to think, what game was that I watched? It was Raiders versus. Damn it! Now that I think about it, I think it was Kansas City. It was the game they beat y'all.
Yeah, right? they were the only team to beat Kansas City at Arrowhead. I'm not counting that Chargers game. I don't know if you caught it or not, but that Chargers game last year, I played 12 snaps. I played for about I was left tackle.
Yeah, right. You left tackle, and I was quarterback. They didn't even care.
Luke threw a couple passes that game. You know, I mean,
just a few, just a few. They could have gave me the MVP. But wow, Red C says Abrams is overrated anyway. He's been hurt.
No, One Pride 40. That was the player they should have took was Josh Allen. That was the guy, and they took Klein Farrell instead of Josh Allen. They should have took Josh Allen, and they would have been in much better shape. You're 100% correct.
I don't have a problem. I hate to say this. I don't have a problem with Derek Carr. Derek Carr to me is like the AFC's version of Matthew Stafford. And this is what I mean by that. He's a guy who can play well. He can give you all the things that you want. He can give you mobility. He can give you short throws, accuracy, deep throw accuracy. But then you look at the team around him, and it's like, let's be honest. If the team around him is so strong, then the question now becomes, is it the team around him, is it him, or is it coaching? And I walk away feeling like it was really coaching. Like Gruden came in with this weird game plan, and sometimes I will watch games where I'm like, okay, you running it, but you need to have more balance. You need to put the ball in the air. And what would he do? Keep running it, and I'm like, but it's stalled out. At some point, you gotta balance this offense out, and he didn't do that. So I'm okay with them passing on Josh Allen and saying we got Derek Carr because Josh Allen is like most of the quarterbacks.
Oh no, he's talking Josh Allen, the end out of
Jacksonville.
Kentucky. Yeah, he's in Jacksonville. And you know what? I was wrong about this. I brought this up last year in 2019. Derek Carr had a 70.4% completion percentage. Last year it was only 67.3. But listen to this: 67.3% completion percentage, 4,103 yards. 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Those are good numbers.
Right.
Those are good numbers. Derek Carr is a pretty damn good quarterback. He's actually a dark horse for me to be an MVP this year.
Well, listen, I ain't gonna go that far. I ain't gonna go that far, but that's a good dark horse. That's definitely a good one.
And you have to understand when you're in a division with Mahomes, you know, you're going to get overlooked, but he's actually played some pretty damn good ball over the last couple of years. And remember, last year they drafted 3 wide receivers. Now, one of them they sent off to Miami, but I mean, he had what's that guy? He's in New England now. Nelson Aguilar. He came over in free agency, and then he had 2 rookies, and then they resurrected Darren Waller from nowhere, who's playing some fantastic ball.
See, I don't think Darren Waller was necessarily resurrected. I think so. I'm gonna tell you how crazy this is, right?
All right.
So I was sitting up. I remember when Darren Waller came into the league, right? And they was always just talk about, is he a tight end? Is he a receiver? He's a tight end receiver, right? Like that's what they was saying about him. So I'm like, okay.
Now didn't he go to Michigan State? Am I correct?
Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech.
Oh, it's Georgia Tech. Okay.
Yeah. So when he came in, he was a really super tall guy, like 6'6", and he was small. He was like 6'6", 225, right? And everybody was like, "Oh, he's going to be a good receiver, big, got speed, whatever, like this." And so I'm sitting up here, and I hate to say this because this is exactly what happened. I was playing Madden. I hate to tell you, I'm telling the truth. I was playing Madden, and so I'm playing Madden, and somebody cut him, and I'm like, "Damn, he's 6'6", he's 225." And I'm like, man, if you get some weight on this guy and move him to tight end, he might be a threat because there were certain features that I liked about him. Right now, this is in Madden. It's not real life. This is in Madden. So I moved him to tight end. I killed everybody in my league with him at tight end. Like I had him at tight end before he was even real tight end in real life. So I said, oh my God, this dude's crazy, right? So now I'm taking that and I said, that's happening in a video game. There's no way it's going to happen in real life. Well, then I sit there and I see that the Ravens moved him to tight end. And I said, oh, snap, this is really going down. And when the Ravens moved him to tight end, there was just one particular game that he had where he was just doing it all. And I was like, oh, but the Ravens 100% want to have tight ends who can block. That was not him. Yes. He's a pass catcher to the core. Now stay with me. All right.
I'm with you.
So now I see him doing this. So now I'm already got him at tight end. I'm feeling good about it on the video game. They done did it in real life. They thinking how I'm thinking. This is crazy. Coincidence? Maybe, but I'm not taking it as that. So this is what happens. He now goes over to the Raiders. And the Raiders, I remember reading this article and they was like, oh, he bulked up to 245. And I was like, 245? Oh, they really finna commit to this damn tight end thing. Now, what he ended up doing with the Raiders was something that I thought that the Ravens look back on and go, well, we didn't commit long enough to him. And so if he somehow, some way get the run blocking down, I think he can overtake Travis Kelce because there's no way you can cover him. Well, he's got more speed. He's definitely big as hell. And the one thing he does really well is he's really good at that boxing out, getting that box out position to get the ball. And I think based on that, if he ever gets the run block down pack, man, he could be a serious threat even more. But he's going to forever be a pass catcher, and that is that is where I look at Darren and I say, this is the guy that they rely on too damn much. And when they went out and they added what's the receiver? Ruggs, I think his name was. Henry Ruggs.
And then Brian Edwards, a guy I really loved out of USC. And when I say USC, it's South Carolina, not
No, I mean, but it's one of the things like you look at them and you go, okay, they have these opportunities to do it. And I'm just saying to myself, it's just never enough balance. But I think this is the year that you start to get a different balance out of the Raiders, and that's why I got them, doing better than most teams. I just feel like most people are going to overlook the Raiders, but the Raiders are going to be one of them teams to shock a lot of people because they're trying to build their trenches up and they're trying to get more balance, and I think that's going to be huge.
Well, if they do everything on the defensive line, that was the one thing I really didn't like what the Raiders did. I didn't think they did enough. I have to admit, I didn't know about Solomon Thomas, and I think that's a great pickup for the Raiders. And I always tell Chiefs fans, Travis Kelce's a wide receiver. He plays tight end, but they don't have him block. And Chiefs fans tried to argue with me, tell me he's a great blocker. You don't take a guy like Kelce and have him block. I don't know if Waller is going to be in a position where they really want him to block, but to put him on Kelce's level is not a stretch at all. I mean, Kelce is setting an NFL record. There's no other tight end in NFL history that's had more than 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Kelce's had 5. It's unrealistic to say he's going to have a 6.
Well,
it really is.
I think what you're starting to see is this. This is another thing that, and I hate to say this because people, it's messed up because when Stafford had Calvin, everybody kept saying he only looked good because of Calvin. But the truth is that's Patrick Mahomes with Travis Kelce.
And then you also don't forget when you have a good receiver like that. Look, here's what the Raiders did. They took Henry Ruggs. They took a guy who's got that deep speed because it allows more opportunity. Because what do? You either get in that game against Kansas City, Ruggs went for an 80-yard touchdown because if you pay too much attention to the tight end, you go over the top. It's the same thing with Kansas City. You have the Tyreek Hill, and then you have Kelce. The two work together perfectly.
Yeah, and if you look at what the Buccaneers did is they basically took the middle of the field away from the tight end and said throw the ball to Tyreek Hill.
And you know what? They tried that in the regular season matchup, and it destroyed them. Tyreek Hill had, I think it was like 100. I'm not exaggerating because he had 2 long touchdowns in the first quarter. It was 150 or 170 yards in the first quarter. But the second matchup in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs had the bad offensive line. They brought Vita Vea back from injury, and they just killed the Chiefs' offensive line. Still a sad memory, but I'm mostly over it, hoping for a rematch. Let me ask you this question here. I've had this up for a minute here, and this is a good one. Luke, I'm going to let you answer this one, man. Would you take over Hawk?
No, listen.
Not even close.
No.
Not even close.
Listen, you got to remember when that year came, I still had TJ Hockenson pegged higher than him because I said, Fant, first of all, Fant in college had some, you talk about some crucial drops. I mean, crucial, and it's nobody near him. And so I saw those drops, and I'm like, oh, okay, nobody's near you. And it happened again in his pro career where there was nobody near him, and he had some crucial drops. But the reason I would not take Fant over Hockenson is because Hockenson gives you the total package, right? Yeah. Like people always talk about how great of a catcher Tony Gonzalez was. Well, he blocked too.
Tony G did block. He was never a great blocker, but he was an adequate blocker. Put a lot of work and effort into it.
Right. And you go down the list of some of the other tight ends that I like. Look at people like Antonio Gates, right? Antonio Gates was a guy who can catch that thing all types of ways, right? And for the most part, when you look at Antonio Gates' career, the quarterback relied on him a lot, similar to what you see with Kelce. But when it comes to Fant, a guy who I think should be getting more targets, should be getting more attention, and he don't. Again, I don't know if that's just Drew Lock not doing it, if that's play design or what the case may be. He should. I just look at TJ Hockenson, and I'm like, every time he's on the field, I think he's better at getting into open space than Fant, and I think that he's better as a blocker and more complete tight end, and I'm not passing on a complete tight end.
No, and that's kind of funny because you got Kelce, Waller and Fant, they're really just big wide receivers. They're not, and I don't know with Shermer, and that's the thing. I think Shermer's kind of mismanaging that offensive talent. But if he figures it all out, Denver's going to be a team to worry about. But I think the Raiders are a team on the rise. That's one thing I do agree with you. I still think Denver's really the number 2 team in the West. My only question is that you have a lot of talent, and you also get Von Miller coming back too. You can't overlook that. I mean, he's probably not. Look, he's 32. He's coming back from a season-ending knee injury. You can't expect him to be, one of the 10 best defensive players in the National Football League. That's probably unrealistic. But is he still going to play at a high level opposite Bradley Chubb, who also went to the Pro Bowl last year? That defense could be really, really good.
Yeah, but okay. So you get Von Miller back, fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're talking about a team who can have that good defense. They can have all the defensive talent that they need, right? As a matter of fact, let's say I join you on the Denver being number 2 train. I would still be nervous just from this standpoint. Who's the quarterback and the play caller that's going to set them up to be successful?
Now, I'm a lot higher on Drew Lock. I don't know if you're aware of this, but me and Drew Lock went to the same high school, slightly different years. So I've been following Drew Lock's career since he was a junior in high school. So I'm really high on Drew Lock. I think that he's got a lot of potential. But I will say this year going into the 2021 season, I think Derek Carr is a legitimate top 12 NFL quarterback, maybe even top 10. Right now, I would have Carr over Lock.
Okay, so if let's just say you did it that same way, where if you were to look at the division, right, you would go Mahomes is number 1 in the division, right? Mm-hmm. Then you would say Derek Carr, or would you say Justin Herbert?
No, I would have Carr. I would have Carr,
and then you would say Herbert was number 3.
I actually, even though Herbert had a great year last year, I think you have to put Herbert at 4. And the reason why I say that is because you really have no idea what to expect. I think One Pride put it in there. You got Joe Lombardi taking over the offensive coordinator duties in LA. You have no idea what you're going to get, but you got a young quarterback learning his second system with some offensive line changes.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing in terms of this year, in terms of the Chargers having lost a lot of things. And I'm saying now he's got to learn a whole new system with a whole bunch of new people. You're going to see some growing pains there.
That's why I don't think that they're a threat to Kansas City. I don't know if you caught the whole show or not, but they're over-under on the Chargers is 9, and I think that's completely unrealistic.
Yeah, I would take the under all day on that.
I think so too. I got the Chargers finishing in the basement. I think Denver's a team to worry about. As a Chiefs fan, I'm worried about Denver, and I'm worried about the Raiders. I'm not worried about the Chargers.
Well, I can tell you this much. I think as a Chiefs fan, you should worry about the Raiders because they've already shown, even last year, they've already shown that, hey, we can play with you. We can play with you, and we can do it at a level that makes it hard on you. And to me, that's evident because if I'm not mistaken, I think y'all split with the Raiders.
Yeah, we split with the Raiders.
But correct me if I'm right or wrong. Both those were high-scoring games.
They were.
So
I know they won at Arrowhead was off the top of my head. I think the game in Vegas, Kansas City won pretty easily.
Yeah, I think the final score was like 35-31. But I think that was like a late rally that didn't.
Yeah, the Chiefs had this weird thing last year where it was almost like they got bored, but they had a lot of games that were closer than they should have been. The game was really it was kind of a blowout that looked good on paper. But yeah, you're right. Both games I think were pretty high scoring games. I know the one at Arrowhead. What really scared me was because it was mid-season and the Raiders put 40 up, and I was like, oh shit. But then the Raiders they started off the last 2 years really, really strong. They looked like they were a playoff team and just really fell apart.
See, I think it's funny when you watch the Raiders, and in the Raiders, to me, I hate to say this because I know people are gonna say, "Oh, that's not true." They had more attitude, I feel like, when they were Oakland. This Vegas Raiders team is strange to me, but I suspect that they'll be better. I suspect that they'll be better, and I suspect that there'll be a team that you should put respect on. But just going back to Drew Lock, he's got to be if he's the third best quarterback, which I don't know if I'm prepared to give him that, but I like your argument about the switch up. He's still, it's got to be brought to the point of the coaching. And do you believe in Vic to put people in a position to succeed? I'm not buying it. I think Vic can get the defense going, but the offense is still a damn question mark.
See, I agree 100% with you. I really thought when they brought in Fangio that they were going to go completely old school. Then they draft all these wide receivers and they draft Fant. I'm like, what are you doing? You take an old school offensive mind, then you add all these skill position players. And I thought it was an organizational issue. Now I'm kind of like, man, this combination could be really good.
I tell you this. It says, Luke, didn't you say the Raiders are going to fire John Gruden? They are. They are. You take all them damn safeties, you better win this year. If you don't win, they gonna fire you. They not listen. They gave you a whole lot of time with a whole lot of power for a whole lot of success. Yeah, you gonna. I'm telling you, listen. Let the Raiders have a bum year. Watch, they're gonna be like, it's with sadness we have to release Coach Gruden. But I think they will be a better team just because I see what they're trying to do. The more I look at the roster, the more I look at their schedule, and the more I look at what they previously did from the previous season, the more I feel confident that they'll be okay. But if they can't even be in the realm of okay, yeah, he in trouble.
Here's the thing: when you're in a division and you're chasing a team like Kansas City, they chased Denver. And I'll say this from now to the end of time, they sabotaged Denver because they brought in that one tall, goofy kid from Memphis. What was his name?
The tall, goofy kid from Memphis.
They brought in that quarterback, and they convinced Osweiler.
Brock Osweiler.
They convinced Denver that Osweiler was a franchise quarterback. That's how they sabotaged Denver. But if you look, it's how you play in the division. And everybody's chasing the Kansas City Chiefs. Which team has the best success against Kansas City? It's the Raiders.
So it's Paxton Lynch.
Have to worry about the Raiders.
He said that the Memphis kid was Paxton. Oh, it was Paxton Lynch.
It was Paxton Lynch. I'm saying, they brought in Lynch twice, and people in Kansas City still swear that we wanted to draft Lynch. No, it was a con artist move because we couldn't beat Manning. When Manning was with Denver, he was unstoppable. We could not beat the Broncos, so we sabotaged them. We brought in this Lynch kid. We told, oh yeah, look how good he is. We weren't going to take him. He could have been available in round 15. We weren't going to take him. We knew he was a nut job. We knew he was a head case. We knew he couldn't play in the league. People in Kansas City will still argue this. I can't prove this, of course, but
I don't think they wanted him neither.
No, they didn't. They brought him in twice, and they brought him in saying, please, Denver, take this guy. And they did. And then Kansas City took Mahomes a few years later. But, hey, Luke, this One Pride 40 brings up good place. Would you take Clyde Farrell over Josh Allen?
Depending on what I'm asking the player to do, yeah. So let's say, for example, I think that what Josh Allen was asked to do versus what Farrell was asked to do are two different things. Farrell is doing his same job, but he's asked to set people up. Josh Allen is somebody you unleash. Just go get the quarterback. He's similar to like Khalil Mack. Just go get the quarterback. But Farrell is a guy that's you use to set up other people, and that's why if I had a different game plan, then I would take him.
Well, I always thought, I thought that when Josh Allen came into the league, I thought he was a 3-4 outside linebacker. I thought you could put some weight on him and play defensive end. I think how they're going to use him in Jacksonville this year will really help him out, give him a little more to the outside, let him use his athleticism. I didn't think he was really a pure now, coming out of Kentucky, I think he was like 240. He put on some weight. I think he's like at 260 now, but he's a 6'7" guy. I really thought he was an outside linebacker, and that's how they're going to use him this year in Jacksonville. I think the Raiders passed on him because they saw the same thing that I did, is that he's not a pure defensive end. He's really an outside linebacker. I think Jacksonville kind of mismanaged him, but that's kind of a different situation.
I do too. And I think they cut his head off by taking a lot of talent that would have made his job easier that first year.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 second. I need to adjust this mic.
All right. And Gary Ivania, I've never heard of you before, so welcome to the show. A zone blocking offensive line will make or break Carr. I really don't think that they're going to change too much in the offensive scheme. This is Gruden's offense. But here's the thing, Gruden and Carr, now I was wrong because I thought that Carr had a 70% completion percentage last year. It was actually 67.3. But his passing numbers has gotten better every single year under Gruden. But I don't think they're going to change his own blocking scheme. They're still going to run Gruden's version of the West Coast offense. It's very similar to what Andy Reid runs. It's just more run oriented. So they're planning on running the ball a little more than Kansas City, but ultimately it's a very similar offense to what Kansas City runs. Just like Andy Reid's a passing coach, Gruden's a run coach, but it's basically the same playbook. They're not going to switch to a zone blocking scheme, to the best of my knowledge. Like Kittle, the best tight end in the league. So One Pride 40 agrees that Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football. And then Foster Moreau is the complete package. He'll get noticed this year. He needs to, but it looks like we got some Raiders fans in the house, so I absolutely love this here. I definitely want more Raiders fans to join the show just because I'm a Chiefs fan. I want fans from all 32 fan bases, and I got nothing but respect for the Raiders organization and what they've been doing for over the last couple of years. I think the Raiders are a much better team than what most people think. The over under 7.5. I do like the over. I think that they're a team Kansas City has to worry about. And, well, yeah, I'm asking what's the closest thing to Mac in the draft. Are you talking Khalil Mack? Okay. Kind of similar to Pitts. Sorry, I'm behind on comments. Some people compare Pitts to Waller. I don't think Waller was that type of an athlete. And if you don't know the story, Darren Waller had some drug addiction problems in Baltimore. I think he was addicted, let's say downers or some sort of pain medication, something like that. Cleaned up. He was actually featured on Hard Knocks because they kept on showing him in Hard Knocks. He was barely expected to make the team. They just kept on playing well and kept playing better and better and better. And then he ended up having a breakout year, and now is one of the best tight ends in football. Luke is right. If he adds run blocking to his repertoire, he becomes the best tight end in football. There's not too much of a difference between Waller and Kelce. Kelce's a better tight end. Kelce's a better receiver. Waller does have more speed. There's no debate there.
Sorry about that. I had to swap.
No, man. I was behind on comments here, and I had to give some mouthwash, all this stuff. Now, Denver Gator, despite the name, Luke, is actually a huge Chiefs fan.
Well, I took Denver Gator as a person who's a Gator, like a Florida Gators fan in Denver.
Yes.
That's how I took it.
That's what he comes out, but the thing is, though, he's really become a big Chiefs fan over the last couple of months being on the show. So.
Got it. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
All right. Yeah. And Denver's on the rise. They're too hyped up last year. I was watching too much of That's Good Sports. No, Denver, just the problem with Denver is, I think me and Luke can agree on this, is we don't think they have the right coaching in play. I think if they had a creative offensive mind, somebody like Andy Reid, they would be an extremely dangerous team. You have an old school offensive coordinator, an old school head coach, and you have all the skill position talent. It's like a car that's stuck in second gear. The potential's there. They're just not getting it done. But they're a team I think that could be on the rise. It's just going to determine, this is a make or break year for Drew Lock. Drew Lock doesn't play the good this year. He's going to be gone. Do you agree with that, Luke?
Yeah, I think this is 100% the make or break year. The fact that they added Teddy Bridgewater via trade signifies that if he even have the slightest hiccup, they're moving on to the bridge, literally the bridge quarterback, aka Teddy Bridgewater, and they'll be looking to give up a king's ransom next year for a quarterback. So yeah, Drew Lock's gonna have to show something, or he could end up with that Rosen treatment, and you don't want to be in that building.
No, you're 100% correct. This is definitely a make or break year, and he's got all the tools. There's no excuses for Drew Lock. If Drew Lock doesn't have a good year this year, he could get the Rosen treatment. He'll be practically allergic to stay on an NFL team. I mean, I feel bad for that Rosen kid. I don't know what the story is behind Rosen. Is he just like some asshole or something in the locker room or something? Nobody wants a piece of this kid.
They just don't think he's good.
That's what I think. It's kind of a shame because he goes to San Francisco. I actually thought coming out of college, I actually really liked the kid. No team wants him. He's on his fourth team in 3 years.
He fell into the same problem that Joey Harrington fell into. Basically ended up with coaches who don't believe in you and don't like your style of play based on what they want done. And so when that happens, you get moved a lot. When he got over to his second team, which I think it was the Dolphins.
Yeah, he went to the Dolphins, and from the I know he's with San Francisco right now. And then as soon as San Francisco picked him up, they immediately traded 3 number ones for another quarterback. Personally, coming out of college, I thought Rosen would be a great fit for, to give Jimmy G a run for their money. But of course, they wanted to give up 3 number ones.
The rumor was that he's a spoiled brat who doesn't really care about football because he comes from a rich family as it is. So he's not pressed at all for football, according to most people. But I hate that statement because it's like there's a lot of spoiled brats in the NFL who came from a real family and did good. Like Eli Manning, when he joined the league, was from a rich family. And so you keep going down the list of some of these other former players who kids are in the league. They come from rich families. But I think with him, it's just he hasn't found the coach who believes in him.
No, I remember hearing about that. He grew up rich, but if you watched him at UCLA, he played some damn good ball at UCLA. I was really impressed with the kid. I felt kind of bad that, I understood why Arizona got rid of him. They were in love with Kyler Murray, but I was really surprised that Miami just gave up on him almost instantly. I mean, they got him in there, and they kind of messed up. If I remember right, he was going to start. He beat Fitzpatrick out, and then Fitzpatrick beat him out, and then it was just Fitzpatrick's team for a while, and then of course they fell in love with Tua. But San Francisco picked him up and immediately traded 3 number ones for Trey Lance. So, it's probably. Does he even make the team this year in San Francisco, or is Rosen going to be on his 4th team? But hopefully, it's not that bad for Drew Lock. I know Denver Gators hoping that he succeeds, but if he doesn't succeed, he's going to be gone, and he may not get an opportunity to start for quite some time.
Plus, I think with Rosen, it's just right now the biggest enemy of him is him. He has to get his confidence back. So when he gets on the field and he gets an opportunity, it's not about what he's been through and who didn't believe in him or who didn't have respect for him. It's about you being able to go out there, put up, and make people shut up. And that's where he's been lacking that. He hasn't made nobody a believer. And so until he does that, he's going to have a very short career. He has to find a way to get from underneath this idea that he can't get the job done.
No, absolutely. I remember his rookie year when he replaced Flacco. Now, Flacco was a complete disaster in Denver. And his rookie season, he actually played well. He was 4-1. The numbers weren't there, but, he did have 4 wins where I think Flacco the whole year had maybe 1 or 2 before he got benched. And then last year, it just didn't work with Shermer and Locke. And I'm not sure if it was because the offense was too complex and they didn't have, a full offseason. They didn't have OTAs. When you have basically a second-year quarterback and you have a brand-new offense for the second straight year. By the way, pay attention to this because that's exactly what's going on in Los Angeles. The same thing that's going on with Drew Lock, same thing's going on in Los Angeles. Now, keep in mind, Herbert had a lot more success than Drew Lock did, but Drew Lock played pretty good as a rookie, and then last year just him and Shermer did not seem like they were on the same page at all. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, is that this is the year put up or shut up. I think he's actually going to put up and have some success.
Well, if he do that, then they're winning. They're doing really good. One prior, he said, and look, I disagree. Gruden's contract is too healthy to fire. He ain't the first one with a big contract to get fired.
No. If Gruden, here's the thing with Gruden is that even though I think he's like a 3% owner, but it doesn't mean that he can't be fired as the head coach. The Raiders are desperate to have a winner, and I think that if they only have a 4 or 5 win season, if they go backwards and go down, they spend a lot of money on that stadium in Vegas. So Gruden, I don't think he's on the hot seat, but he wins 4 games, he could definitely be gone.
Oh, I think he's on the hot seat.
You think he's on the hot seat?
Really? I think they irritated with him. I think they're irritated with him, and I think that because you figure this is what, year 3, 4, 3?
This will be year 4.
4, okay.
Yeah, this will be year 4.
All right. So I knew it kind of had a little length to it. All right. So here you are in year 4, and I think they gave him like a really long deal, like 10 years or some crazy.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and I think he's a 3% owner too.
Okay, which is not much. I mean,
it's great.
It's great for money.
He could still be fired and still have that 3% ownership, the way I understand it.
Right. So, but if you just look at it, you're talking about a guy who's going for year 4, and in year 4, they're expecting to see a jump, like a significant jump, because at some point you have to start to show progression towards getting close to it. And if you're not getting any of that progression, yeah, I think he's on the freaking hot seat. I think that he's in trouble, because now what you're going to start to see is a guy that they're going to say, what are you going to do? So, yeah, they finished second in the division last year with an 8-8 record. And 8-8 is just, okay, cool. But then you talk about that's only 1 game better from 2019, where they went 7-9, and they finished 3rd. And it's like, okay, cool. And in 2018, they was 4-12. And you're like, okay, cool. And then his first season, they went 6-10. So it's like this progression that they want to see. They're saying like, hey, right now we have either been bad or we've been mediocre. We barely are mediocre. We're more close to meh. So yeah, I think in this 4th year, if he goes anything less than 8 and 9 or 9 or anything above 500, yeah, I think he's in trouble. Because now
that's a fair argument, because I remember when they won 4 games, nobody had any expectations. Everybody knew that they were going to be bad. But when they went from 4 wins to 7 wins, that was a significant jump. And people were thinking that, hey, you should go from 7 wins to 10 wins, and they only went from 7 to 8. I think if they go 8 wins, I think he's safe. But if they slide back and get 6 or 7 wins, then we could talk about him being on the hot seat. I agree with you. I think that I do think that he'd have, now keep in mind an injury to Carr, major injuries along the team, and they win 6-7 games. I think he's okay. But if the team's relatively healthy and they win 6 or 7 games, then yes, there could be some talk, because it used to be the rule is that you give a team 3 years, and then that 3rd year is supposed to be a magical year. Well, year 3 was the magical year, and what they do? They go 8-8. Plus, they were at one time, if I remember right, it was 5-2. They beat Kansas City in Arrowhead, and then you finish 8-8, don't even make the playoffs. I mean, there was after that Chiefs win, there was a lot of talk about the Raiders maybe even being a Super Bowl team, but definitely a playoff team.
Well, I can tell you this much. I'm looking at some of the comments and stuff. Like I see Gary, he says, or Carr will have doomed another team and coaching staff. Quarterbacks don't doom teams. I want y'all to be clear about this. Quarterbacks don't doom teams. Before y'all say that, go and look at the Super Bowl that Peyton Manning played in, and look at that season. He sucked. He was terrible that last season. He won the Super Bowl with Denver, and guess what? It didn't doom them. So it's one of them things where you get to go through and look at some of the other people. It says blame everybody but Carr. It's not blame everybody but Carr. It's saying that was Carr given the things that he needed to succeed. Some quarterbacks are given certain things they need to succeed, but we as fans always put this level of energy on the quarterback, and the quarterback in and of itself cannot succeed because everything the quarterback does is dependent upon something else. For example, the quarterback had to have an offensive line for protection. He had to have a running game. He had to have a receiver. He had to have a tight end for the short game. And if he don't have those things, he don't succeed. But when you go and you look right over next door to Kansas City, nobody is talking about Patrick Mahomes because he has those things. He has the offensive line. He had the run game. He had the tight end. And then he had the receivers and the coaching to go along with it. And so he succeeded. And so when you start to see that the formula is equal across every team, not just them, you start to understand that it's a bigger picture than just that. But I just think when it comes down to Derek Carr, like if I'm gonna tell you right now, it's two teams that I pray to God don't get Derek Carr. Two teams, just two. Number one, the Vikings. If they ever decide to move on from what's his
Kirk Cousins
and get Derek Carr, I'm pissed because that's a problem. That's the problem that I don't.
I like that Munn kid that they drafted out of A&M. I would not be surprised if he ends up being the starter in the next year or two. I really like that kid.
Well, Kellen Mond has an opportunity to be something there, but like I said, but these are two teams I don't want to see Carr anywhere near. I don't want him near any of these teams. The other team I don't want to see Derek Carr go to because I think if Derek Carr went to this team, this would be another problem, not for the Lions, but just in general for some other teams. I don't want to see Derek Carr go to the Steelers.
Oh no, the Steelers would be really good with Carr. I'm not really sure how Big Ben's going to do.
Oh, he would get Big Ben. Big Ben finna be happy to turn around and hand the ball off to Najee Harris.
Yeah. This is going to be a big year. By the way, Najee Harris, if you're a fantasy football junkie, you cannot take Najee Harris soon enough in this. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 400 total touches as a rookie.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to have a big year if he stays healthy.
And they're going to run the ball. They're going to treat him like Jerome Bettis. So
yeah, he's going to have a big year. He's going to get lots of opportunities if he can stay healthy. I did like what the Steelers did picking up Haskins for almost nothing. I don't know if he's going to be the answer there in Pittsburgh for the long term, but I thought it was a smart move picking him up for nothing. I don't know if you paid attention or not. Lots of Josh Rosen hate in here. He just stinks. Mike put out. Red Sea also talked about how that Cardinals team was really, really bad, and they were really bad. I remember they brought in Sam Bradford, and he just I think he took like $20 million, played 5 games, and that was it. And I don't think he's touched the NFL since then. But yeah, that team was really bad. But lots of Rosen hate here.
They hate Rosen. I see that we got a lot of hate for Derek Carr. People talking about 61 turnovers since 2017. I'm just thinking, where are you getting like why?
Red Sea, I wasn't ignoring you. It's just I've been on about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Me and Luke known each other for a couple of years. I definitely have to get Luke on any time. He's got a lifetime pass to join the show whenever. I am going to have you on though, especially after I do the Cardinals video. Well, I'm not ignoring you. It's just I'm going to wrap up here in the next 5 or 10 minutes. I didn't want to
100%. Yeah, because
I didn't want to bring you on just so I could say, okay, not your one. I'm getting off.
Listen, if you would have cut it short, same thing is there. Like I said, I would have told you how to get in contact with Chris from Headliner U. I mean, that dude is.
I only got to listen to about half an hour of that, and I was like, I subscribed to his channel, and I got a lot of questions. I'm going to hit you up either today or tomorrow. I got some other questions, but I didn't want to try to get as many of these comments as we can here. One Pride's asking a good question here. My guess is that if he has another Pro Bowl season, is Hawkinson on year 3 or 4? I'm drawing a blank. If it's
year 3,
year 3. After this season would be my guess. Luke, what do you think, brother?
I think if they're smart, they're going to re him up this season.
You think they're going to do it this year?
Yeah, because you don't want to let him get near free agency. You just don't. But can I go back to the Carr thing? Carr has since 2017. Carr has 89 touchdowns to 40 interceptions, right? And so some people might go, "Oh, that's not great," right? Like I get it. Like I get where you want to be frustrated and say that's just not great. However, let me give you something else. Since 2017, he's been sacked 126 times. I haven't even begun to tell you the quarterback pressures he's been under, but this is a team that has been trying to put the right pieces around him, and it hasn't been there. You can't get sacked 51 times in the season. That's not normal, right? And similar to some of the other numbers that you look at, when you look at this team's success and failures, it's not necessarily always blaming it on the quarterback. And I'm not bashing the Raiders, and I'm not bashing anybody. I'm just stating the obvious points to the fact that coaching needs to change the way that they do things to protect the quarterback. That's why Nick Foles got a ring. The coaching changed it so Nick Foles can be successful. That's why when Nick Foles went everywhere else, Jacksonville, now the Bears, he's not having that success because these coaches are refusing to change the way they're doing things. So just want to put that out there.
No, you actually had some great points. And the other thing that you and I drew a complete blank. I mentioned his name earlier, the tackle that they spent. It was a 4-year, I want to say $70 million contract to play on the right side. They sent him back to New England. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name. And then they drafted a Colton Miller, the 9th overall pick, because the problem with the Raiders is that offensive line was in terrible, terrible shape. I remember they stole Rodney Hudson from Kansas City. They gave him an insane contract, partly because they wanted to take something away from Kansas City, but partly because they needed a center. This was before Gruden came, so Gruden had the center. And then the rest of the 4 offensive line pieces were complete garbage. They spent the 9th pick overall a couple of years ago. I got it pulled up here, 2018, on a Colton Miller. He was kind of a project. They overdrafted him, but he's been a competent left tackle. I'm complete blank on the massive right tackle who's back in New England, a 380-pound right tackle. I did not like the contract at all, but as a Chiefs fan, I was pretty happy with it. But they spent draft capital and free agency money just on building that offensive line. And why? Because Gruden was getting Carr was getting the crap kicked out of him. So you're 100% correct. So the Raiders had to fix the offensive line, plus they had to do some offensive line shuffling, used another first-round draft pick on the offensive line. So that is one thing, even though I gave the Raiders a D in the draft, Leather was going to be a day one starter. Yeah, I did not like the Raiders draft. I really felt like they needed to do more on the defensive line. However, I was not aware Solomon Thomas was picked up. For those of you that don't know, Solomon Thomas, the number 3 player overall. He was going to go number 2, but they had that great quarterback go number 2 ahead of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, that great quarterback who's now in I have no idea. Where is Trubisky now?
I think Trubisky. I'm trying to think.
I drew a complete blank, but that great Bears trade for Trubisky.
I'm trying to think. Where the hell is Trubisky?
I'm drawing a complete blank too.
And I can picture. It's like I remember, but I just can't call it up. I'm
drawing a complete blank. Yeah, I'm drawing a complete blank. But yeah, the Bears traded
the Bills. He's a backup on the Bills.
Oh, okay. Yes. Actually, that's actually a great spot for him. But yeah, so. Yeah, Solomon Thomas, he went after Trubisky. He was the 3rd overall pick. A guy that had a ton of talent coming out of Stanford, just didn't pan out. But for the Raiders, it's a perfect fit. And even though I wasn't aware of that, I'm assuming the Raiders didn't sign him for big money.
Now, let me tell you, that comment that was up there by Denver Gators, and I'm a Lions fan, but I'm also a Bucs fan. I like the Seahawks as well, right? I'm fans of those 3 teams. This comment is so true. Most people, John Gruden's whole career was freaking catapulted because of that Super Bowl win. But what people don't realize is when they traded for him, he was just a guy that got them over the hump by bringing in certain things. If John Gruden had to win against any other team besides the Raiders with that Buccaneers team, they wouldn't have won. They knew all the plays. He put all the plays in play that they was doing for the Raiders, and they knew it. It's been well documented. Every player on the defense said that they were trying to call audibles. They said that they even tried to change the name of their audibles, and it didn't matter. They knew everything. They knew it all, and that made it. I mean, think about it. Look, why do you think it was such a blowout? It wasn't even a close game.
No, it was a bad game. I've heard all the same things, and I agree with a lot of the statements. It's just I just remember that Tampa Bay defense just being awesome. I'm drawing a blank on who the Raiders played in the AFC Championship game that year, but I don't, it wasn't New England.
In the
I know it wasn't New England. I want to say I know it wasn't New England. I'd have to go back and look, but that Tampa Bay team was a damn good team. That defense was fantastic. I mean, you got Rondé Barber in the Hall of Fame? I don't remember off the top of my head. But I don't think he is. I think he's questionable, but you got Lynch is in the Hall of Fame. You got Derrick Brooks is in the Hall of Fame. You got Warren Sapp is in the Hall of Fame. Simeon Rice will never make the Hall of Fame, but that year he was an all-pro, had 14 and a half sacks, played like a monster. It was his best year. Booger McFarland's never going to be a Hall of Famer, but he was a pretty good player. And you keep in mind, you got two really good defensive linemen in front of him. So you had a great defense. That offense was okay. They had some good pieces. I have no idea off the top of my head who the Raiders beat to get into the.
What year was that? I think that was 2000.
It was 2002. It was 2002. It was 2002. So I'm not sure who it was. You know what? Here I'm on here right now. Here I'm gonna look it up here.
Yeah. Okay. So Oakland beat the Titans 41-24.
Okay, the Titans that year. So the Titans went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Wow. Jeff,
the Titans had finished 11-5 that year. And it was the Titans that they beat. But Oakland, in my opinion, got real fortunate because I think the team that I was surprised that they got past was the Jets. And I'm gonna tell you why. The Jets, who was a 9-17 that year, I was like, okay, yeah, they 9-7 or whatever like that. But the Jets had played Oakland tough. And they even though in that playoff game it wasn't even questionable. And obviously that's one of those games you look back on. But I felt like if we had to win against, say for example, if it was Tampa Bay versus Pittsburgh, right? Because that was the team that the Titans beat that many people were shocked. That was the upset, I think, that year was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You know what? I remember that now. I had to go back and look at it myself. Those are the Herm years. That was a Herm team. And Herm in the playoffs just got overly conservative. If you don't remember history at all, this was the team that beat the Colts in the playoffs with Peyton Manning 41-0.
See?
I had to look it up. I didn't have it memorized. I had to look it up myself. And the problem was that the offensive coordinator, Paul Hackett, with Herm Edwards, the defense was good enough. That Jets team had a Super Bowl caliber defense, but Herm Edwards was just offensively impaired, unfortunately. I love me some Herm. Love me some Herm. You do not want him to coach your NFL team. I can tell you this from experience. I love his press conferences. I'm going to cheer for him at Arizona State. Do not put him near my Chiefs ever again. It was not a good thing.
Gary says 61 turnovers are not. Derek gives the ball away cheap, flash between the 20s for 3 points. Speed, the mismatch early. He's not a threat in the red zone.
Gary also put in that Mariota. Do you think Mariota is actually a threat, Gary, to take over as the quarterback? I'm telling you,
no,
he's not.
No.
Gary put in one of the comments. Okay, here it is. I'm telling you this right now. Mariota did come in for it was a primetime game. Now, here's the deal. This is part of John Gruden being an excellent coach. When they put Mariota in, they ran a completely different offense. They didn't run Gruden's standard offense. They ran a college offense that Mariota was comfortable with. You can't run that for 16 games. Can you run it for a series or two and have it be successful? Sure. Can you have Carr get – because I remember Carr got hurt and they switched the offense. They ran a college offense, which confused the opponent they're playing against. And I can't remember who the opponent was. Mariota is not even close to being a threat. Mariota is a backup. He may play a series or two every once in a blue moon. He will play, obviously, if Carr gets hurt. He is not a threat to take over for Carr. But, Gary, if you're a Raiders fan, me and Luke are in agreement that Carr's the starting quarterback. We want to hear from you, man. If you really think that Mariota's going to step up and be the starting quarterback and save Gruden's butt, please let us know in the comments, man. I don't agree with that at all, but hey, you're welcome to have your opinion. It was a third-round pick, one Pride 40. Minnesota got Mond, and that I love Minnesota's draft. I think they had a really great draft. So
okay, yeah. Well, like I said, man, I could talk football all day, but I do gotta get going.
All right.
I want to come on for you some support, man, and because like I said, I love what you do. I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you're betting, if you're betting, man,
I'm talking about you all the time, man. Yeah, I've been on for 2.5. This is one of my longer shows. So yeah, I've been on for 2.5. We'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up here. And Red Sea, listen, man, I'm going to do the Cardinals in a couple weeks. If you want to come on next week, man, message me. We can have you come on. You don't have to do the whole show. You can come on part-time and you can defend your Cardinals. Gary does respond back. He says, yes, he likes Mariota. Gary, if you join, this is my first time I'm seeing you. Join next week. We can talk more about the Raiders. Luke, you are always welcome on the show anytime, brother. You know the time. And I can't thank you enough for joining today. So we'll wrap it up at 2:30. Thank everybody for coming in. I'm sorry if anybody had a comment or a question that I missed, but I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up now. Thank you, Luke, for joining. Thank everybody in the comments. Don't forget, give me a thumbs up here. And by the way, subscribe to Luke G Field Review if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next week.